Yes! Okay, guys, now we're gonna react to the full Five Nights at Freddy's timeline. People were a bit angry when I reacted to the last one. It was outdated, and they didn't like that. We're doing a reaction to the other one.
Welcome to Deer Hunter Productions. I'm DaneCat33, and I'll be attempting to put together a full timeline of the Five Nights at Freddy's series. Five Nights at Freddy's follows the crooked Fazbear Entertainment, a company founded by inventors and business partners Henry Emily and Willie Mafton.
Yay! Henry. I don't like William. People were like, why are you hating on my man, Willie Mafton? And I'm like, why are you not? Why are you cheering this mentally ill murderer? Exactly. And then they were like,
yeah, but he lost two of his kids, and they just wanted him back.
by killing trillions of kids.
Who was one of the main villains throughout the series. Not much is known
Hello
about
there.
Afton's early life, but from the Silver Eyes, we can gather that he felt powerless and unappreciated
Red
in
Eyes.
the world. But then there was the other kind of petty tyrant, those who grew spiteful with their small scraps of power. Feeling more and more abused by the year, by family who did not appreciate them, by neighbors who slighted them in imperceptible ways, by a world
Also
that left
Mike.
them somehow lacking something essential. Before him stood someone who had spent so much of his life fighting like a cornered rat that he had taken on the mantle of bitter sadism as an integral part of himself. He would strike out against others and revel in their pain.
Is that Dead by Daylight? See, I know they have a collab thing going on, but is it important for the lore?
Feeling righteously that the world owed him his cruel pleasure.
Oh, that is sick. You can see his body inside of the animatronic. Yo, that is kind of fucking cool.
One of Henry and Afton's first locations is Fredbear's Family Diner. A
Yeah.
small restaurant likely established sometime in the 70s, featuring two animatronic performers, Fredbear and Spring Bonnie.
Yep.
Early versions of Freddy and Bonnie. Speaking of early, it's also worth mentioning that it's implied there was a predecessor to Fredbear's Family Diner, namely Fredbear's Singing Show, which was some sort of attraction. But we don't know much about that, so let's just focus on the diner. Fredbear and Spring Bonnie are spring-lock suits,
Yes.
meaning that they double as both fully functioning animatronics and costumes that a person
Yes.
could climb into.
I learned about
The spring locks
this.
compress the animatronic parts inside the suit, which allows for a person to fit inside and perform while wearing the costume. However, the spring locks are very dangerous. Even slight moisture can cause the locks to break loose and impale the wearer with all the animatronic parts in the suit.
And then you turn into a pretzel. I learned, guys. I learned.
Henry and Afton are also friends with another inventor named Edwin Murray. His father
Murray?
owns Mexico and their factory, Murray's Costume Manor, aka MCM. This location produces costumes and carnival games for their clients. Edwin works here and meets a puppeteer named Fiona. Together, they voice Edwin's creations, Mr. and Mrs. Helpful.
Oh, they're so cute. Look at them together. I did not know that this was supposed to be them.
Robotic puppets designed to guide MCM employees and visitors.
So
Much
cute.
like Edwin's creations, he and Fiona eventually get married and have a
Aww,
son named David Murray. For his
yay!
first birthday, he's gifted a white tiger doll with blue and green eyes, likely because of David's own heterochromia.
Oh, yo, that's so cool though. So cool.
Around this time, Edwin's father unfortunately passes, putting
Aw.
Edwin in charge of Murray's Costume Manor. He uses the company to produce some of his own inventions, most notably the Cleanovac.
Love those! I love those! I need more of those! They're so cute! You know what they remind me of? They remind me of Wall-E. And I love Wall-E. So when I figured out that you can pet them in the game, I was like, ah.
Unfortunately, he's a workaholic, even skipping out on David's second birthday party
Oh,
to make
yeah.
a new invention. He eventually partners with Henry and Afton to create new things for Fazbear Entertainment, notably
Right.
at Fredbear's Singing Show and Family Diner, as there are posters for those alongside other companies and establishments that they've partnered with. We can see in the loading docks that MCM made floats for Fazbear Entertainment.
Oh, yep.
And we learned from the Secret of the Mimic launch trailer that MCM created several mascots and costumes for Fazbear. Later in the game, we discovered that they produced Springlock costumes for them too.
Oh.
However, these Springlocks are much safer
Yeah.
than Henry's, being able to endure water damage and even falls without injuring the wearer.
Oh, well that's great. So why didn't we use these, huh? Why did we use the ones that crush the person inside if they sneeze? Just imagine being in one of those suits and you just have to sneeze and it's achoo! And it just closes up because either the movement or the fucking snot that came out of your nose, it like crushes your fucking body. Oh my god.
Their biggest collaboration is working together on a new restaurant project. The infamous chain of Freddy Fazbear's pizza establishments.
Yay!
However, tragedy strikes Edwin. A fire starts at one of the Fall Fest events that MCM had been contracted to help with, and Fiona perishes in the fire. On
R.I.P.
David's third birthday, it seems like Edwin breaks the news to him that his mother is gone. To take care of David while he works, Edwin creates an animatronic endoskeleton known as M1. This animatronic is the culmination of Edwin's previous inventions. It learns like the Stay Up Latte, copies voices like the Mycelium Men, and shapeshifts like Murray's Magic Coat Rack and the Cleanovac.
Did it just say that? Magic coat rack?
Which allows it to wear any of MCM's costumes. One day, Edwin discovers something on the frequency 4625, copying some of Fiona's dialogue from David's second birthday tape.
This is where I heard it. It's her or someone that sounds like her.
Aww.
That's great, honey, but you're missing the party. That's great, honey, but you're missing the party.
It seems like M1 watched this tape and either began to mimic Fiona or gave Edwin the idea to use M1 to bring her back.
Ew! Why? That is so fucked up. I don't like that. Also, I don't like that the feet are not symmetrical. Why is the right one a cylinder and the left one is a weird looking tube?
Regardless, by David's 4th birthday, M1 is fully adapted to its role as
Is that a
replacement
cake?
Fiona, and we'll start referring to her as F10 and 4. On the same birthday, Edwin gives David a playground outside of MCM, although his lawyer is concerned by how close it is to the factory's loading docks. On David's 5th birthday, Edwin leaves him at the playground, while he and F10 and 4 prepare his party in MCM's conference room. After complimenting F10 and 4's cake baking skills, Edwin sends her to fetch David from the playground. However, it's revealed that David has died, likely because, as Edwin's lawyer said, the playground was too close to MCM's loading docks. And because of that fatal oversight, David was hit and killed by a car.
What the fuck? Guys, respectfully, if you're a parent and you leave your kids out like that alone near a loading dock, you are a shit parent. And I won't lie, in the whole entire FNAF thing that's going on, I've seen a lot of shit parents so far. I don't know if that's fair to say, but I've seen at least 5 that I'm like, you should have done better. And I don't know why you haven't, but the fact that he just let him out near the loading docks without anyone watching him or making sure he's okay and alive is concerning to me. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Oh, I'm getting... Okay, amazing, guys. I see all the recommendations. I will look through them for sure. I appreciate it so much. Alrighty. Sorry. Ow! Stop.
Loading docks. And because of that fatal oversight, David was hit and killed by a car. This is similar to how in the books, David chases Ball out onto the road and was hit by a van.
What? What is this? From the New York Times bestselling author, Five Nights at Freddy's Tales from the PizzaPlex, Nexie. She does not look good.
It's somewhat implied in the Moon.exe minigame that F10 and 4 might have been responsible for David's death. As in
Ridiculous.
that minigame, she kills the baby owl, who represents David. Regardless, she urges Edwin to make another mimic program to recreate David. And initially, he resists.
Okay, so F10 basically wanted a robot family. She killed David so he could make David into an animatronic so they would be together forever. But obviously, Edwin is not like that because no one can make Edwin into a robot or an animatronic.
Edwin, calm down and give it some thought. Try again. Make another. And we can all be together.
See, because she says we can all be together, but Edwin is not gonna be one. Edwin is a human being.
All this time wasted? I should have been having fun with him, playing games and teaching him how to make things. But I didn't. I let a machine raise my kid. You're
Yup,
not
you did.
real. What was I thinking?
At least he's being realistic and actually acknowledges the fact that he's a shit parent. That's good.
I let a machine raise my kid. You're not real. What was I thinking?
You do not mean that. It is me. I'm Fiona.
Nuh-uh.
Stop talking like her. You're not her.
Despite Edwin's reluctance,
Crazy.
he eventually complies and attempts to make a copy of F10-4's M1 program, named M2. And this program inhabits the M1 endoskeleton. It seems like F10-4 was ejected from the endoskeleton body and stored somewhere else as M2 developed. As if Edwin's clearly unwell mental state wasn't bad enough, MCM begins to collapse around him.
Yeah.
See, while Henry and Afton are seemingly friends with him, in reality, they're trying to tear apart his company.
Of
poaching all his
course.
employees to build up Fazbear Entertainment.
They? Are we sure that Henry is behind any of this? I've always seen Henry as a decent person.
Afton had messaged an MCM admin to get the staff contacts in exchange for a manager's position at a Freddy's location.
Oh, yeah.
Fazbear also offered MCM employees much higher pay
I'm going to make double what I make here.
and encouraged them to convince their fellow
There's a
employees to
referral
jump
bonus we
ship.
can get in
A
more
trio of
Murray
employees,
employees.
led by a man named Stan, stole some of Fiona's character patterns before leaving, and they formed their own company, Stan's Budget Tech.
Oh!
And using MCM's stolen work, they create the mediocre melodies and Candy Cadet animatronics seen
Oh,
in the later
okay.
games. Sometime during the collapse of MCM, Fazbear Entertainment gains ownership of their land and entire catalog, as evidenced by a message from Afton to Edwin, and Fazbear Entertainment's later use of characters such as Foxy, Monty, and Roxy,
Love Monty and Roxy. Roxy's my girl!
which MCM originally owned. One of the more notable things that came from this was Fazbear Entertainment learning about M2. Along with this, Afton and Henry kept changing what they wanted for Freddy's. It seems that the pizzeria originally intended to use Springlock suits of Fredbear, Spring Bonnie, Bub, and Monty. These characters were designed by Fiona and were almost done, but Henry and Afton made Edwin change them into an animatronic crew, replacing Fredbear and Spring Bonnie with slightly different variants, those being Freddy Fazbear and Bonnie.
Oh,
New
okay.
additions to the band include Chica and Foxy. Chica's restaurant
Got you.
originally owned Chica, who was the mascot of Chica's Party World.
So Chica wasn't originally part of the crew, and neither was Foxy.
MCM was hired to make a Chica costume, which Fiona designed.
With a
Although the
cupcake.
suits produced are much more creepy than the initial artwork. It seems that Fazbear Entertainment eventually acquired the company and made Edwin add Chica to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
Chica was supposed to have a walking burger and walking fish sticks and a walking shake. Why did they scrap those ideas? I think that's genius.
Foxy, on the other hand, was part of an MCM show before being added to Freddy's band.
Oh!
Likely after Fazbear Entertainment gained ownership of MCM's characters. All of this pressure builds until it seems like Edwin snaps out of his delusions with his robot family. When he encounters M2 copying David, he loses his temper.
Stop. You're not him. You're not. Stop sounding like him.
He's finally snapping back to reality and realizing that he cannot replace his son with a fucking robot, which I can respect.
Edwin beats M2, causing it to mimic
Beats
his rage and
what?
become violent. Causing it to mimic his rage and become violent.
Oh,
Sometime
yeah.
after this, Edwin closes the MCM facility and locks himself in his house. He becomes so focused on his work that he neglects repairing M2. F10-4 discovers that M2 has developed violent tendencies, although she never learns that Edwin attacked it. She begs him to help her stop the animatronic's violent behavior, but it seems like he didn't want to finish the M2 program or repair the animatronic. So she instead sends him blueprints for a cradle. This giant computer is designed to keep M2 safe, since F10-4 still views him as their son, but it also has boundaries so M2 won't hurt anyone. Edwin complies and builds the cradle, also known as Mechanical X-Form Experimental Storage. He puts F10-4's program inside the machine, and stores it in MCM's mock-up of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. However, it doesn't seem like he activates the cradle program. Eventually, the damaged M2 goes to Edwin's office and begins copying Edwin to repair itself. After being damaged, M2 stopped mimicking David, likely because the attack gave him an identity crisis. After all, Edwin beat him simply for assuming the identity he was programmed to.
I'm very confused about this ending. I've never seen this ending.
M2 now copies its surroundings, and instead of just mimicking David, it can adapt to and mimic a variety of characters. While repairing himself, a failed power test results in an explosion.
Hold on. M2, which is not Fiona's bot, but it is David's bot, is the mimic. So, because he mimics what he sees. So, David's son is the one that's hunting me down the whole entire time? Not David's son, David. That is news. I didn't know that.
That destroys a large chunk of Edwin's office and causes a small fire. The incident also injures Edwin, who desperately begs for M2's help.
Yeah.
I can't move. I can't feel my legs. You know, speaking of legs, what do you think? I just finished mine. There are still a few kinks to work out.
So M2 is basically copying Edwin now. So he is mimicking what Edwin would say. Oh my god, everything makes sense now. That is crazy.
I'm sorry, M2. I lost my temper. I was always gonna fix you. Please, call for help. Oh, can't right now, buddy. We can do something fun tomorrow. I promise.
This makes so much
Ask your
sense
mom
now.
if she's not busy.
Edwin likely died after this, since as far as we know, M2 never gets some help.
Yeah.
However, we don't see his body, so who knows for sure. Regardless,
True.
M2 finishes repairing itself, and he returns to Murray's costume manor. Since Fazbear Entertainment had learned about the animatronic from the MCM admins, they decide that they just have to have this murder robot.
We think that endoskeleton has a lot of potential, and that's why we want you to retrieve Murray's original schematic for it.
Fazbear sends its employees to MCM to retrieve the animatronic schematics.
This actually makes sense. For once I don't feel like an idiot. Yet.
And F10 uses this situation to her advantage. She copies the voice of Fazbear Entertainment's dispatch in an attempt to get the workers to deliver her the M2 schematics, so she can send them to Edwin and have him repair and complete the M2 program. If
Yeah.
it wasn't clear enough yet, M2 is now a sadistic monster. He
Yeah.
mocked Edwin with his own voice and child neglect when he begged him for help, and now he slaughters anyone that he comes across.
Yup.
Despite being a violent murder robot, he's one with personality. It's shown throughout the games that he likes to toy with his prey, sometimes slowing down his speed if he believes they're cornered.
Wow. M2 is just a very, very, very failed project that was supposed to be something to help him, but started copying all the bad things that Edwin did, beating him up, for example. He took that, he mimicked that, and now he just wants to kill and abuse and destroy everything in his way.
It's also implied that instead of simply killing his victims, he'll fatally injure them and leave them to die. He is
Wow.
also very destructive, explicitly showcasing his boiling rage through his violent actions. He's no longer just a copy of David or the M1 program. He's formed his own identity, and is known simply as the Mimic.
Yep.
This is bad news for the Fazbear workers who enter MCM, where the Mimic resides. None of them listen to F10 and are all caught by the endoskeleton, who stuffs them in costumes around MCM, even
Oh,
matching the
shit.
personality of his victims with the mascot costumes.
Wow.
Now, if you've read the Tales from the PizzaPlex books, you know those have a different origin story for the Mimic. But what you might not have known is that story is actually referenced in Secret of the Mimic. In MCM's basement, you can find a note that reads, "Memory error, detail report. We were expecting. There were complications. Consciousness was lost for an undetermined time. Once
Okay.
I woke, we were all together and happy. A family. But something was different. I felt wrong somehow. Was I me? I would never sleep again. Corrupted file suspected. Please advise."
So there's like a little Easter egg. I like Easter eggs. The second I saw that big Freddy head in the basement, I was like, oh, that's so cool! I really liked it.
The complications while the Murrays were expecting seems to be a clear reference to the Mimic story in Tales, where Fiona died during childbirth. So it seems like that book origin
Oh.
story is actually just a memory error in one of the Mimics. Does
Oh,
that mean
okay.
the rest of the books are still canon? I'm not quite sure. And since their canonicity is very questionable, I won't treat them as part of the timeline.
I do like the art though.
We'll still discuss them since they include a lot of lore implications. Back to
Okay.
the games, the Mimic's mayhem continues in Secret of the Mimic, where on September 7th, 1979, Fazbear Entertainment sends its overworked employee, Arnold, to retrieve the Mimic's
Overworked is
schematics.
real.
He travels to Murray's costume manor, and here, Arnold has to evade the Mimic as he upgrades his data diver to access new areas of the building. It is worth noting that after a recent update, you can see a shadowy figure moving around in the warehouse manager's office.
This is what you get when you play the games when they release. I immediately played the game when it came out. I'd never seen this, but that's so cool.
While this might just be the Digityper bot that resides there, its
Right.
humanoid shape and movement around the room has led some people to suspect it's Edwin, who survived
Wow.
the Mimic's explosion and returned to MCM. Or
That
maybe
is
it's his
cool.
Ghost, who's to say for sure. Early in the game, Fazbear Entertainment's dispatch is secretly replaced by F10N4, who mimics Dispatch's voice and guides Arnold through MCM. Throughout
Okay.
his journey, the Mimic wears a variety of costumes and adapts to some of Murray's animatronics, including Jackie, Big Top, and Nurse Dolly. Arnold manages to defeat these forms one by one. Toward the end of the game, he enters the admin wing, where the Mimic now wears a Chica's Party World costume. Luckily, he manages to evade her.
Does he physically get into the costumes, aka he puts them on? Or is he just jumping software? But then you have the part in the game where Nurse is on top of the elevator and the Mimic jumps out of the Nurse. So that would indicate that he's actually in the costume.
Allowing him to enter Edwin's office and download the Mimic schematics. But the animatronic appears before he can leave, and forces him to take a detour into the tunnels, where he encounters David's
Terrifying, I hated this
ghost,
part.
which appears as a giant version of his tiger plush.
Yep.
His spirit teleports around and giggles as it tries to catch him, but Arnold prevails and makes it back to the security office, where F10N4 asks him to hand over the schematics. Instead,
But you
he runs
don't.
the parachute program and escapes through some vents, making F10N4 very upset.
You have made your choice. You are not going to make it out of here alive.
That's okay.
You could have helped. If you had just given me the schematics, we could have fixed things.
So this is actually the Mimic talking. This is not Dispatch, because Dispatch doesn't know about it. This is the Mimic saying that he is going to die because he's not giving him what he wants.
But you're just like the others. The other technicians, the workers. They didn't, and it caught them all.
Yep.
Now it's your turn to play dress up.
Arnold continues further and discovers MCM's research and development, where they'd been working on a mock-up of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza,
Love
featuring
that.
the original Springlock gang of Fredbear, Spring Bonnie, Monty, and Bub.
I low-key freaked out here because I was like,
Oh my god, that's Freddy!
The Mimic follows him down there and wears an amalgamation of prototype characters.
Yeah.
Arnold moves the Springlock suits in front of the pizzeria's cameras to trick F10N4 into closing the security doors and draining the
yep.
building's power. With no power remaining, he enters the office and meets face-to-face with F10N4. She tells
Fiona.
Arnold to travel to Edwin's house so he can activate the communication subterminal.
I have a message for him. We must convince him to repair M2.
So this is M1 or F10. So F10 is the animatronic that copied Fiona, which means that she just wants M2, which was supposed to be David. She wants him to be actually David and not the creature that he became, mimicking all the violence. Yes! I'm getting there!
That is all that I want. If you do not, M2 will never stop pursuing you.
Yep.
Tell Edwin, I still love him. Entering standby mode.
Afterwards, Arnold takes a ride through some tunnels, traveling from MCM to Edwin's house, where the Mimic has once again followed him. He makes his way to
That was
Edwin's
so
office,
shit.
only to find the room destroyed, and the tape implying he's deceased. In Murray's surveillance room, Arnold activates F10N4's Cradle program, but before he can leave, the Mimic corners him.
Yep.
He stays further into the house, and when powering up a generator, he accidentally starts a fire.
Oh,
Back down to the tunnels between the house and
so that whole fire situation was my fault. I thought that was already going on, but apparently that was dude who was supposed to fix everything that kind of set fire to the gaff.
And as he descends, F10N4's message plays.
I hope you're taking care of yourself. Knowing you, you're still trying to hold it all together. But the company doesn't matter anymore. It's over. You need to let it go.
Yeah.
I beg you, put it all aside and fix M2. It is not too late. I miss you,
Aw.
but I miss my child more. I watched him grow up through this machine. I want him back.
So she's actually convinced she is Fiona, even though she's not. And she just wanted an animatronic of David, and she did never mean to have this whole fucked up, psychopathic fucking animatronic that mimics violence.
As Arnold tries to escape, he's chased by the Mimic and Proto-Mimics. Cobbled together
Proto-Mimics?
abominations who seem to have been built by the Mimic while copying Edwin. Arnold makes his way back to the burning MCM building and escapes to his van. However, the Mimic has hitched a ride.
Yup. Injures me really bad and takes the
Arnold wakes up
file
to
thing.
find his van on fire, and the Mimic lurching toward him. The Endoskeleton rips off his data diver, retrieving
Data
its
diver.
schematics. After doing so, it simply leaves Arnold to burn in his van. Alicia activated the Cradle program, which will come back in Ruin. 4 years later, in 1983, the Five Nights at Freddy's 4 minigames occur. These follow the week of Afton's youngest son's birthday, where he's tormented by his older brother, Michael Afton. Throughout this week, Afton communicates with his son through Fredbear plushies scattered around their house and the diner, keeping him afraid of his brother and the animatronics. At the end of the week, it's finally time for the crying child's birthday. But unfortunately, Michael and his friends shove him into Fredbear's mouth as a prank. The animatronic's powerful jaw then crushes the child's head. The year of this incident is confirmed to be 1983. Thanks to
the bite of
Fredbear
83
show having a copyright date of 1983.
People are so good at spotting these things. I would never pick up about the fact that that literally says 1983.
And in the week before interactive novel, if you type 1983 into the phone, you hear a recording of Fredbear's bite, and it's mentioned that this happened again 4 years later, which matches up with the bite of 87 that we'll discuss later. In Night 6's ending, we see a cutscene that appears to be some sort of coma dream. Michael apologizes to his brother, and eventually, the Fredbear plushie, aka Afton, begins speaking. He says he will put his son back together before we hear a flatline, signifying that Afton's son has died.
So sad.
During the same year, the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza diners finally open.
I love
is
this
confirmed
game.
by the Faz tokens seen throughout the later games, which indicate that Freddy's opened in 1983. According to the audio training cassettes heard in Five Nights at Freddy's 3, when Freddy's first opens, it uses spring-lock suits.
Welcome to your new career as a performer/entertainer for Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Right now we have 2 specially designed suits that double as both animatronic and suit. Please make sure the spring locks are fastened tight to ensure the animatronic devices remain fixed.
In Pizzeria Simulator's security puppet minigame, we see that one of the new Freddy's locations, Henry built an animatronic known as the Marionette or Puppet to keep an eye on his daughter, Charlie.
The puppet is good, right? The puppet was just made to keep an eye on Charlotte. All the puppet's job was to keep her safe, so she never meant to hurt anyone.
She wears a green bracelet that helps the puppet identify her and keep her from leaving the building. However, some bullies trap the puppet inside the box and lock Charlie outside. We see the result of this
Charlotte, Charlie, potato, same thing, basically.
in the Take Cake to the Children minigame, which, let me point out, features Freddy, confirming that this happened at a Freddy's location, not Fredbear's. The new book, Ticket to Fun, also reveals that children attending birthday parties at Freddy's are provided with wristbands, which serve as both a souvenir and a way to track the kids.
Which is not a bad idea. To track the kids, knowing where they are so they are safe, knowing that they're not anywhere where they're not supposed to be, knowing that they're not in trouble.
It's likely that these party wristbands are the same ones we see Charlie and the other kids wearing. Furthermore, when using a blacklight on this page, it reveals Charlie, solidifying that she was wearing a party band and that this event takes place at Freddy's. The puppet eventually breaks out of the box, but before it can save Charlie, she's discovered by Afton, who drives up to the location and promptly murders the girl, likely because of how jealous he is of Henry.
Which is just fucked up, and this is exactly where I lose any empathy for William Afton.
The puppet then exits the building to find Charlie. It begins to malfunction in the rain, and discovers her body next to Afton's tire tracks. The animatronic crawls up to her and shuts down. Charlie's spirit then possesses the puppet. We know her death happens in 1983, since that's when she dies in the novel trilogy. And in Help Wanted 2, when typing 1983 into the private room, you're rewarded with the puppet memory doll, indicating that that's the year when she was killed. Henry also says that Afton's violence was first inflicted on him.
Not until I undo what he has done and heal this wound. A wound first inflicted on me, but then one that I let bleed out to cause all of this.
So it seems pretty clear that Charlie was his first victim.
Yeah.
It seems like Afton noticed Charlie's spirit haunting the puppet, and wanted to recreate that. This also matches up with how in the novel trilogy, Afton was fascinated by Henry's robot Charlie and wanted to recreate her. Anyways, Afton makes his own location, known as Circus Baby's Pizza World. Like most things in the early timeline, when this location opened is a bit vague. But considering it has variants of Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, I think it's safe to say it opened after Freddy's.
Yeah.
We also learn in Sister Location that this pizzeria has at least one spring-lock suit.
Okay.
You're inside something that came from my old pizzeria. I don't think it was ever used. At least not the way it was meant to be used.
So when she says the way it was meant to be used, it was supposed to be a way of killing.
I'd recommend that you keep the spring locks wound up.
Oh, wait. Is that Ballora? Guys, I've lights on my fucking face. I can see fuck all. That looks like Ballora and not like Circus Baby.
This is important since later we learn that the spring locks are decommissioned. So this means that this location was opened before that happened. The other performers at this location are the Fun Times, an animatronic crew consisting of small characters like the Biddy Babs, stop it! Bon, and bigger animatronics such as Circus Baby, Ballora, and Funtime variants of Freddy, Foxy, and Chica.
Yeah.
Although she isn't very important. These animatronics are secretly designed to murder children, likely as an attempt to recreate the same haunting that happened when William Afton killed Charlie.
Yeah.
However, he didn't get very far with this, as unfortunately, the first victim is his daughter, Elizabeth.
Yep.
Despite his repeated warnings to stay away from Circus Baby, she wants to see the animatronic. And when the two of them are the only ones in the room, Baby's stomach opens, and presents Elizabeth with ice cream. When she steps closer to collect it, a claw emerges from Baby and drags Elizabeth into her stomach, where she eventually dies.
So now, his genius plans and genius robots caused 2 of his kids to die. So what would any normal person do? Let's quit. Let's not do that anymore because that's bad. What is William Afton gonna do? We're gonna keep going.
After this, Circus Baby's Pizza World closes, under the guise that they were gas leaks. However, Afton's plan wasn't all in vain, as Elizabeth went on to possess Circus Baby. However, unlike with the puppet, it seems like Elizabeth fused with Circus Baby's AI. As in the games and books, she remembers killing Elizabeth as Baby, but at the same time also is Elizabeth.
So it's 2 people. What? It's 2 people and 1 animatronic.
Sometime after this, the spring-lock suits are decommissioned at Freddy's.
Yeah.
After learning of an unfortunate incident at the sister location involving multiple and simultaneous spring lock failures, the company has deemed the suits temporarily unfit for employees.
Just
and
in time.
This is after Circus Baby's Pizza World closes, since again, that location had a spring lock suit, meaning they weren't decommissioned yet, so that must have happened sometime after Pizza World closed. It's also possible that Circus Baby's Pizza World is where the springlock failure occurred, since Baby said that the springlock suit at her restaurant wasn't used the way it was meant to be. We also know that this springlock failure occurred at a sister location, and Five Nights at Freddy's sister location's title might be a subtle nod to that. Since
maybe.
Afton managed to recreate animatronic possession with Circus Baby, he decided to conduct further experiments. In 1985, at one of the Freddy Fazbear's pizza locations, likely the same one where Charlie was killed, William Afton dresses up in the old Spring Bonnie costume and lures kids to the safe room.
So Into the Pit is based off of where Charlie was killed. I didn't know that. I didn't know that that was the Into the Pit place and where Into the Pit is located.
Every location is built with one extra room that is not included in the digital map layouts programmed into the animatronics or security system. This room is hidden to customers, invisible to animatronics, and is always off camera.
Okay.
The safe room is reserved for equipment and or other property not being currently used and as a backup safety location for employees only.
An off-camera room is the perfect spot for Afton to lure his victims to so he could kill them discreetly. He used various methods to lure his victims. In Ticket of Fun, we learn that he helped an 8-year-old boy named Timmy Douglas win the Midnight Motors arcade. And while that did help him gain the boy's trust, he was ultimately thwarted by Timmy wanting to get back to his party and open presents.
Oh god.
In Pizzeria Simulator's Fruity Maze minigame, and the Fourth Closet novel, we learn that he told one girl named Susie that her dead dog was still alive, and promised to take her to him. Of course, he instead killed her in the safe room.
So he not only killed her, but also manipulated her. Oh, your dead dog is not actually dead. It's in the back rooms. Like, of course she's gonna come with him. Bless her little cotton socks. She's just happy that her best friend is still alive. Oh, that makes me mad.
In total, he murders 5 or maybe 6 kids. For years, it's been believed that Afton only killed 5 kids. But in Ultimate Custom Night and Into the Pit, it's strongly implied that there were 6 victims. Yep. In Ultimate Custom Night series...
Why does she look like that? Why does Chica look like she's starring in Monster High? Love that for her, though. I love her outfit.
Toy Chica, the high school years. We follow Toy Chica, killing her love interests, paralleling how Afton murders his victims.
I told him that someone ran over his dog in front of my house. But once he's there, I'll entice him with warm cookies, lure him inside, invite him inside, and then I'll have him.
What's interesting, though, is that we see Toy Chica has 7 victims, representing Charlie, the 5 missing children, and another unknown victim. Then later, in the Into the Pit short story, there are 6 victims in a recreation of Afton's 1985 murders. In the video game adaptation, we see the same number of dead kids. And in the Balloon Boy minigame, we collect 6 party hats.
I think Balloon Boy is scary as fuck. I have reacted to some FNAF now. I've never heard Balloon Boy anywhere. So I hope they include Balloon Boy in this one because I don't know what Balloon Boy is. I don't know anything about him.
Representing Afton's 6 victims in 1985. The Fetch minigame also has us collecting 6 balloons and placing them where Afton murdered the kids at Freddy's. So it seems like Ultimate Custom Night and Into the Pit are hinting that Afton killed 6 kids at Freddy's in the 1985 murders. Afton's known victims here are Gabriel, Jeremy, Susie, Fritz, and Cassidy.
And back there it says Charlie.
But who is the identity of the 6th mystery child? We'll focus on that later. Afton stuffs the kids in the animatronic costumes, and as shown in the Give Gifts, Give Life minigame, the puppet gives them life, allowing them to haunt the animatronics.
I feel like the puppet is like the baseline of the games and like saving everyone, kind of.
Gabriel possesses Freddy, Jeremy becomes Bonnie, Susie haunts Chica, Fritz possesses Foxy, and Cassidy becomes the ghostly Golden Freddy.
Yes.
The reason this yellow bear isn't an actual animatronic like the other victims is because as seen in Give Gifts, Give Life, the puppet never gave Cassidy life. So similar to David Murray, he exists as a ghost. It doesn't seem like the puppet gave that 6th kid life either. Also, it's worth noting that Ticket to Fun implies these disturbing minigames are created as a result of the Freddy's arcade machines being haunted.
What? Okay, what the fuck?
According to the puppet, Afton's victims became animals.
The others are like animals, but I am very aware.
Scott Cawthon elaborated upon this while discussing the movie during Daco's interview.
These animatronics are possessed by the spirits of kids, and these are innocent kids. These are victims themselves. So it's very, very difficult to still have a horror movie, still have those kills that you need, but still preserve the innocence of those kids.
Do we know what he looks like, Scott, or is he completely anonymous?
These animatronics are, the spirits in them are these kids that are basically very confused and lost, animals backed into a corner, and kind of left with this impression that adults are out to get them.
It seems like Afton notices that the children's spirits are haunting the animatronics. In both the books and movie, he's depicted as seeing the animatronics as his family. To quote the Silver Eyes, "They are home with me. Their happiest day. There isn't a way out anymore. All that's left is family."
What the
fuck? In
fuck?
the film, he refers to the animatronics as little ones and children.
I don't know if this is a very good drawing or a really bad picture. Guys, it's Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Again, painting the picture of Afton, viewing them as his family. I didn't know where to mention this, but it's also mentioned that Fazbear Entertainment's management noticed Spring Bonnie being moved, likely during Afton's murder spree, and they mentioned that the suit is unsafe.
Management has also been made aware that the Spring Bonnie animatronic has been noticeably moved and would like to remind employees that this costume is not safe to wear under any circumstances.
So this confirms that Afton killed these kids after the Springlocks were decommissioned. Meaning that this is after Circus Baby's Pizza World was opened and quickly closed, since that location still used Springlock suits.
Right.
Speaking of which, sometime afterwards, Freddy's closes due to Afton's murders, and he opens Circus Babies Entertainment and Rentals.
Due to the massive success, and even more so the unfortunate closing of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, it was clear that the stage was set, no pun intended, for another contender in children's entertainment. Unlike most entertainment venues, our robotic entertainers are rented out for private parties during the day.
Why would you want one of these animatronics at your party? I would not. I think I'd rather have a popcorn stand.
And on their off time, they're stored in an underground facility, connected to which is a testing facility. An area designed to look like a house, with test subjects living in a child's bedroom. This is where the main gameplay of Five Nights at Freddy's 4 occurs. And the tales from the PizzaPlex story, Dittophobia, shed some light on the facility. In the story, the main character, Rory, is trapped in the house testing facility.
Rory.
He believes that his life is normal. Every day he eats breakfast and gets ready for school, but he struggles to find the front door. He eventually gets drowsy and goes to bed, where nightmarish versions of Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy.
These are terrifying. Genuinely, I think these are the scariest animatronics out there. That Chica has 3 rows of teeth.
It's revealed later that the house in the facility is actually decrepit, and the nightmare animatronics are simply costumes on metal skeletons.
Ridiculous.
The reason Rory had believed everything was clean and normal was because of the gas Afton had been pumping into the house. The gas in the gas tanks were hallucinogens. These were drugs that made him think he was seeing and doing things he wasn't seeing and doing. The gas was what made him think he was living in the house with his parents.
So sad.
The gas was also the source of his night terrors. Apparently the whole thing was a nasty experiment designed to study the effects of ongoing fear in children.
Ridiculous.
Whoever was behind the experiment wanted to see what happened if a child faced the same horrors night after night after night, with no real life during the day to balance out the awfulness of the nightmares. This poses the question, why would Afton do this? Maybe he's trying to replicate his deceased son's constantly terrified behavior in other test subjects.
No, he's a psychopath who enjoys torturing children.
Possibly as part of his promise to put him back together? I'm not quite sure. What we do know for sure is that he abandoned the experiment. Rory discovers that Afton had stopped taking notes 10 years ago, and everything in the house, such as the food, gas, and nightmare animatronics, were automated. Another automated feature is a recording Afton left behind, which gaslights Rory into staying in the facility. He tells Rory how out of place he was in the real world, but here he's been watched over and taken care of, revealing that Afton targets misfit kids for these experiments.
So, William Afton is a mentally ill bully who kills children and tortures them. I don't get why people are showing this guy empathy. I do not get it.
The story ends with Afton's recording convincing him to stay in the testing facility, and dooming him to eternal night terrors. In the games, the facility serves as the main location in Five Nights at Freddy's 4's gameplay, where we seem to play as one of the test subjects, fending off the nightmare animatronics as part of the experiment. In sister location, you can see the testing facility on the break room map of Circus Babies Entertainment and Rentals.
Right.
Later in Help Wanted, we play through a digital recreation of the facility, which has the fun times appear in the house. Both of these details, along with the books, pretty much confirm that the Five Nights at Freddy's 4 house is connected to Circus Babies Entertainment and Rentals.
Oh my god.
A map of the location reveals that the Plushtrap hallway from Five Nights at Freddy's 4 is also connected to the underground facility, but it's not a part of the house area. While that zone is connected through Afton's private room where he observes these experiments, the Plushtrap hallway is accessed through the Blora Gallery. In Five Nights at Freddy's 4, after you complete each of the first 4 nights, you're transported to the hallway to play fun with Plushtrap, who is a small, plush-like version of Spring Bonnie. If you manage to stop Plushtrap on the room's X, then you can skip the first 2 hours during the next night. As for what this means story-wise, I think it's possible that after surviving each night in the main testing facility, Afton transports his subjects to the hallway to test them further. And if they win, he gives them 2 hours off the following night as a reward. Or this might be an entirely different child being experimented on, as there's a white dot in each testing facility. And those seem to represent children, as we can see a white dot in the crying child's bedroom, which presumably represents him. The map also shows 4 other dots in the hallway, not including the player or Plushtrap, who is represented by a gray dot. Unlike the white dots, these gray ones connect to most of the animatronics at Circus Babies, the Nightmare animatronics, and you can even see Fredbear and Spring Bonnie at the diner. What's interesting though is that there are 5 animatronics in the hallway, possibly implying that there are multiple Plushtraps.
Oh, okay.
However, in a digital recreation of the hallway in Help Wanted, you can sometimes see mini arenas standing by these spots, implying that these dots actually represent some mini arenas hiding in the room.
Oh, okay.
Also, considering the underground facility is connected to Fredbear's, and even as indicators for where Fredbear, Spring Bonnie, and the Crying Child should be, I assume that means the facility was constructed before the Five Nights at Freddy's 4 minigames. Although we know Circus Baby's Entertainment and Rentals was only opened after Freddy's closed, which begs the question of what this facility was originally used for. Maybe it was only for the testing facility before being repurposed for Circus Babies.
Oh, okay. So it's the same place.
I'm not sure what to make of it, but regardless, we can reasonably assume that Afton spied on his son from the facility's private room. As you can see one of the Fredbear nanny cam plushies in there, with what appears to be a remote to select which Fredbear plushie Afton wants to watch his son from. We'll circle back to Circus
Creepy
Babies
behavior.
Entertainment and Rentals later. But for now, let's focus on Five Nights at Freddy's 2. This entry takes place in 1987, at the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. After the missing children's incident, apparently the old Freddy's location was left to rot, before Fazbear reopened with the new toy animatronics.
They've spent a small fortune on these new animatronics. Facial recognition, advanced mobility, but most importantly, they're all tied into some kind of criminal database so they can detect a predator a mile away.
In the main gameplay, we're put in the shoes of Jeremy Fitzgerald, the second guard to work at the improved pizzeria.
Okay.
And we have to face off against the new toy animatronics. In calls from the phone guy named Ralph, we learn that something has recently happened at the establishment.
Okay, so just to update you, there's been somewhat of an investigation going on. We may end up having to close for a few days. I don't know. From what I understand, the building is on lockdown. No one is allowed in or out, you know.
They locked the fucker in the facility. That is next level fucked up.
Especially concerning any previous employees. The place is closed down, at least for a while. Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one.
Golden Freddy?
Now none of them are acting right.
Or
It sounds
Springtrap.
like Afton once again used the Spring Bonnie suit to kill more kids, which is further implied in the Save Them minigame, where we play as Withered Freddy, following the puppet throughout the building and discovering 5 bodies.
Oh
It seems
shit.
like these victims went on to possess the 5 new toy animatronics. Those being Toy Freddy,
got you.
Toy Bonnie, Toy Chica,
Chica.
the Mangle, and Balloon Boy. This
Got
is
you.
further implied by them exhibiting supernatural behavior, such as glowing eyes. Along with the new possessed animatronics, the original gang returns, albeit now withered.
Those are from the previous location, and we just use them for parts now.
Really? So you're being ganged up on.
The idea at first was to repair them. They even started retrofitting them with some of the newer technology, but they were just so ugly, you know?
Damn.
Jeremy has to survive Freddy and all of his friends for 6 nights. And after that, there's one last event.
We have one more event scheduled for tomorrow, a birthday. You'll be on day shift. Wear your uniform. Stay close to the animatronics and make sure they don't hurt anyone, okay?
It seems like this birthday party is where the infamous Bite of 87 occurred. This incident involved an unknown animatronic attacking someone and biting their frontal lobe off.
Biting their frontal lobe off? Just take the head at that point.
Considering Jeremy was taking the day shift for that party, and was told to stay close to the animatronics, many fans think that he was the bite victim.
Oh god.
This game also takes place in 1987, the same year as the bite, and the event is never mentioned by Ralph, likely meaning it didn't happen until after the 6th night. Following this is the custom night, where we play as someone named Fritz Smith. However, he gets fired immediately for tampering with the animatronics for the custom night AI.
Fair.
After that final night, and the Bite of 87, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was closed, and the new toy animatronics were scrapped.
Yo, what the fuck is this music behind it as well?
Implying that one of them was behind the bite. A popular fan theory is that Mangle was the culprit, although Toy Chica's dialogue from Ultimate Custom Night implies she might have been behind the bite.
Where's my beak? Lodged in your forehead, of course.
Oh shit.
But ultimately, it doesn't matter. Say Balloon Boy did the bite for all I care. The end result is still the same.
Fair.
It's also worth noting that the toys never appear again, outside of various recreations of them. So
Great.
it's likely that after they were dismantled, their souls were set free.
Oh.
With the
Nice.
toy animatronics decommissioned, Fazbear Entertainment fixed up the withered animatronics and reopened Freddy Fazbear's Pizza with them. However, after the bite of 87, the animatronics are restrained to the stage.
They used to be allowed to walk around during the day, too, but then there was the bite of 87.
Okay.
Oh yeah, speaking of our friend Ralph, he takes over the night shift when Freddy's reopens.
Oh,
But
nice.
eventually, he decides to quit.
Oh.
During his last week of the job, he records messages for his future replacement. And the
Right.
events of his final week are detailed in the week before interactive novel.
So what I'm hearing is that Ralph, right, is a bit of a bitch. Don't be like Ralph, guys. Or be like Ralph if you want to live. But if you have some for the balls, don't be like Ralph.
Unfortunately, Ralph quitting has unintended consequences. The animatronics have been getting bored of the same old routine.
Of
And
course.
since Ralph decided to leave Freddy's, they figure, why can't they? The animatronics began messing with the power and rerouting it to their charging platforms on the stage, which
Shit.
would allow them to travel further from Freddy's and terrorize locals,
Shit.
including Ralph's daughter, Coppelia.
Who?
However, a junior reporter named Bronwyn Light caught wind of these plans thanks to her sources. And on the third night of Ralph's final week, she breaks into Freddy's through Party Room 2's window.
Oh.
She's caught by Bonnie before she can do anything to stop the animatronics.
Of course.
And she's stuffed in a Freddy costume.
Could have chosen a fucking girly costume.
She holds out as long as she can. But when she realizes that it's too late for her, she records a message to warn Ralph. However, in the book's canon route, he never hears this. And on
Aw.
night 5, the animatronics get the best of him. So he records a final message for his replacement. And I know in the original Five Nights at Freddy's, you get his final message on night 4. But the novel reveals that's only because he forgot to record a message for night 4. So his
Oh.
final message plays on night 4 instead of 5.
Oh, hey, wow, day 4. I knew you could do it. Hey, listen, I may not be around to send you a message tomorrow. It's been a bad night here for me. I'm kind of glad that I recorded my messages for you when I did. Hey, do me a favor. Maybe sometime you could check inside those suits in the back room. I'm gonna try to hold out until someone checks. Maybe it won't be so bad. I always wondered what was in all those empty heads back there.
Oh god.
Oh no.
Ooh. Damn.
After being attacked, Ralph wakes up inside a costume in the repair shop behind the stage, unable to move his body. The interactive novel ends on a very ominous note. All of your choices have led you here, and now you're out of options. The only thing you can do is wait. It's very likely that much like Bronwyn, Ralph couldn't hold out, and eventually
Damn.
died in the suit. Since neither of them were able to stop the animatronics' plans, it can be assumed that they left Freddy's to attack locals and maybe even kill Ralph's daughter. They
Oh,
eventually returned back
shit.
to the pizzeria before the next week, where the main gameplay of the original Five Nights at Freddy's occurs. In
Alright.
the game that started it all, we play as Mike Schmidt, the new security guard at Freddy's. Mike
Mike.
is probably an alias for Michael Afton, William Afton's son, who put his brother in Fredbear's mouth and inadvertently
Yep.
killed him. In Sister Location, which we'll get to later, Michael has a name tag on the hand unit assistant that simply says Mike. And the survival logbook draws a lot of connections between Mike and Michael. Anyways, Mike or Michael or whatever fends off against the animatronics for not just 5, but 7 nights.
Wow! He is a hard worker. 7 nights? I'd quit after 2.
However, he's fired for tampering with animatronics during the
Aw.
custom night. It's also worth mentioning that in the survival logbook, Mike draws Nightmare Fredbear, monstrous version
Fuck my tiny life. What the fuck is that?
who is a monstrous version of Fredbear that appears during Five Nights at Freddy's 4's main gameplay.
Hello?
It's implied that Michael was the test subject being experimented on during that game. It would be pretty messed up for William Afton to test on his own son.
Yeah.
But throughout the series, he's repeatedly shown to manipulate and even harm his children. So it's not too far-fetched to suggest that he experimented on them. Sometime after Five Nights at Freddy's, William Afton goes back to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza to disassemble the animatronics and use their endoskeletons for more experiments.
Yes.
In order to destroy the Freddy's gang, he returns to the safe room, which is implied by Henry to be the same one where he murdered the kids in the first place.
He lured them all back to a familiar place, back with familiar tricks.
So that would mean that the Five Nights at Freddy's 1 location is the original Freddy's.
Yes.
Which matches up with Ralph saying that they left the location to rot. And with it being the design of the mock Freddy's that MCM made. Anyways, another thing to note is that sometime after William Afton killed the original set of kids, the safe rooms were sealed.
The safe rooms that were off camera and off map and the animatronics didn't know where it was the kill room. That was the room where he killed all the kids, which is fucking ridiculous.
However, he's now opened the room and hides in there. Since if you remember, the safe rooms are invisible to animatronics. As seen in the Five Nights at Freddy's 3 End of Night minigames, Shadow Freddy appears in the pizzeria. This ghostly
Shadow
character briefly
Freddy
appeared as an Easter egg in Five Nights at Freddy's 2.
That is a cool fucking animatronic. I'm sorry. It looks like a shiny. You know shiny in Pokemon? It looks like a shiny animatronic.
But we never really learn who or what he is. There's also Shadow Bonnie, who appears frequently throughout the series. Special Delivery implies that these characters are formed from Dark Remnant, or the human emotion of agony. Henry's insanity ending speech in Pizzeria Simulator implies that Shadow Freddy is somehow conjured by Afton. He says that to lure the animatronics back to the safe room, Afton used familiar tricks. And both Shadow Freddy and Afton tell the kids, follow me. So it seems like Afton is behind Shadow Freddy's behavior. It's not clear how he influences Shadow Freddy or how he came to be. Maybe he was formed from the agony of Afton's crimes, who knows. What we do know is that Shadow Freddy lures the animatronics to the safe room. But since that area isn't programmed into their systems, they can't enter the room. As the bots leave, Afton ambushes them, and he manages to destroy all the original animatronics. He then takes their endoskeletons and melts them down into Remnant.
Remnant! I'm getting there, guys. I'm learning!
He then takes their endoskeletons and melts them down into Remnant. This supernatural substance is a major focus in the later games and books. In Fazbear Frights, a character named Dr. Talbert explains Remnant. In non-scientific terms, it's like the metal's haunted. It's more complicated than that, of course, but it's similar to the way that water conducts electricity. Remnant is the mixing of the tangible with the intangible, of memory with the present. The people and things that are lost, it makes them almost real again. And just to be clear, Remnant isn't the same thing as Agony. Remnant is metal haunted by spirits and their memories, while Agony is extreme human emotion that impacts objects.
That explanation of Remnant actually makes sense to me. It is just haunted metal.
To quote Dr. Phineas from Fazbear Frights, human emotion is slower to impact, more insidious. It emanates from us, or is excreted from us, if you will, like sweat or tears. And it wafts outward like a noxious cloud, soaking into the surroundings. Extreme human emotion appears to impact its surroundings far more powerfully the more negative it is. Agony, I'm convinced, radiates farther from people than any other emotion. My work is focused on my hypothesis that you can take a saturation of agony, add any kind of intelligence, even an artificial one, and they will combine together to transmute the energy of emotion into the energy of physical action. This, I believe, is what explains what people call haunted objects. To give an example, in the original Five Nights at Freddy's, the animatronics are haunted by spirits. However, all of the supernatural events that happen seem to be a result of the building itself being haunted by agony. It's also likely that the mimic was infected with Edwin's agony when he was attacked, which is what drives his murderous behavior. Anyways, we'll focus on agony more later. Remnant is more of a now problem. As previously discussed, William Afton melts down the haunted endoskeletons into Remnant.
It matters, but it also don't matter, which is great.
He then develops a device known as the Scooper, which is designed to inject Remnant. Afton keeps the melted endoskeleton Remnant at a sustained temperature, keeping it malleable, but not too hot, as overheating could neutralize the Remnant. If you're wondering why Afton has been doing all these experiments throughout the series, it's strongly implied in the novel trilogy that his overarching goal is to find the secret to immortality.
So he is a selfish bully murderer. Isn't that great, guys?
There's a scene in the fourth closet where one of the main characters tells Afton that he should be afraid to die. As if hell exists, that is certainly where he will end up. Afton responds by agreeing and confirming that he does indeed want to become immortal, as he is terrified of death. While this book isn't set in the world of the games, it's likely that this is also his motivation driving him throughout all these murders and experiments in the games. Afton seems to be trying to harness the power of Remnant so he can make himself immortal. As part of his experiments, he spreads the haunted metal throughout the Funtime animatronics, giving them life. And if you didn't understand this at first, hey, no worries, it's kind of vague. So let's just lay out all the evidence. In the third non-canon novel, The Fourth Closet, Afton retrieves the original animatronics endoskeletons and melts them into an amalgamation. He then extracts the children's remnant from it, which he then injects into the Funtime animatronics.
So it's the same people in a different animatronic.
While this book isn't canon, it's strongly implied that Afton also did this in the games, judging from the scooper being designed to inject remnant. We know he stole the Freddy's endoskeletons in the games, as in Five Nights at Freddy's 3, all the remains of the original animatronics are their shells, with no endoskeletons, implying that Afton took them. Then in Pizzeria Simulator, Henry's speech implies that Afton is using his victim spirits for a new purpose.
As if what he had already done wasn't enough. He found a new way to desecrate, to humiliate, to destroy. As if the suffering wasn't enough, the loss of innocence, the loss of everything to so many people. Small souls trapped in prisons of my making.
The music you're hearing is the sound of Music Man in Security Breach.
Now set to new purpose, and used in ways I never thought imaginable.
In one of Help Wanted's levels, we can see endoskeletons in a furnace at Circus Babies Entertainment and Rentals. And these are the same endoskeletons that the Freddy's animatronics use.
That's
so
so
it seems
sad.
Like it did take them after destroying the animatronics.
The kids' spirits are in the metal, so I really hope that the kids did not feel too much pain when they got melted. These kids, man, they've been murdered, then they've been melted, then they've been hunted, then they've been used, abused, and everything. And it's like so unfair.
I'll discuss this more later, since it'll be easier to explain certain things. But just know that the Funtimes now contain the remnant of the missing children, making them haunted by the fragmented parts of their souls.
Yep,
This leads into the events of Sister Location, where Afton tells his son Michael to go to Circus Babies Entertainment and Rentals to set his sister Elizabeth free.
Under the
However,
house.
since Michael looks so similar to his father, the Funtime animatronics mistakenly think it's him. So, thinking that he's William, they aren't the most friendly.
They are not friendly because the remnant of the first kids that he killed are in those animatronics, so those animatronics are gonna attack him because he's the one who killed them.
Throughout Michael's 5 nights, the animatronics try to catch him. Minus Funtime Chica, who is either rented out during his week, or is present in the location but not seen for some reason. Anyways, Michael manages to stay one step ahead thanks to the assistance of his robot sister, Circus Baby. However, she isn't helping Michael out of the kindness of her robotic heart. In reality, she's working with the Funtimes on a plan to escape into the world. So she's slowly gaining Michael's trust as part of this plan. The animatronics all use the scooper to tear out their endoskeletons and then merge them, becoming Ennard. Afterwards, they kill 2 technicians and hang them. Then on Michael's 5th and final night, Baby tricks him into entering the scooping room, where they use the scooper to remove his insides. Ennard then wears his body to escape the facility. However, as you can expect, Michael's body starts to decay.
Michael's body now contains Edward, which is all 5 of the original kids that William Afton killed in his body, but his body is obviously like kind of decomposing and it's like falling apart.
So Ennard escapes into the sewers. But thanks to the scooper injecting him with Remnant, Michael survives, albeit as a reanimated corpse.
Crazy.
Sometime after Afton told Michael to go to Circus Babies Entertainment and Rentals, he, for some reason, returns to the safe room, where he's confronted by the ghosts of his victims.
Yeah.
With no way out, he jumps into a Spring Bonnie costume.
Killing
As he laughs
himself,
at the kids
basically.
he's killed, the spring locks suddenly go off, impaling him inside of the costume. The spirits vanish as Afton writhes inside the suit. It's kind of ironic that if Fazbear Entertainment used Edwin's safe spring locks, then Afton would have survived.
So ghosts are different than Remnant.
Karma sucks, man. Also, if you're wondering why I put this after Sister Location, it's because Afton needs to be alive before that game to tell Michael to set Elizabeth free.
True.
Years later, a local amusement park creates a new attraction based on the tragedies at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, named Fazbear's Fright, the horror attraction.
Love that.
It features relics from the old pizzerias, such as shells of the animatronics, posters, and props. A week before the attraction opens, the main gameplay of Five Nights at Freddy's 3 occurs, where we play as yet another security guard watching over the attraction.
Right.
Our replacement Ralph, known only as Phone Dude, says he's in contact with someone who designed one of the pizzeria buildings. And apparently, there's a boarded up room. This is clearly the safe room.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's once again sealed up after Afton had it open implies that someone returned to lock him inside.
Yep.
The most likely suspect for this is Henry, since Afton killed his daughter and ruined his company.
Henry Goats.
On night 2, Phone Dude says they found a real animatronic, and upon checking the cameras, we're introduced to Springtrap, The rotted
Oh,
remains of
God.
William Afton still trapped inside the Spring Bonnie suit. The Fazbear's Fright owners retrieved him from the safe room and took him to the attraction. Afton wastes no time getting back to murder, trying to kill the Fazbear's Fright guard, whose identity is never confirmed. But it's likely either Michael, or according to the books, some rando named Hudson. Assisting
Random
Springtrap's
named
murderous
Hudson.
goals are the Phantoms, hallucinations of burnt
my
Freddy's
God.
animatronics. If they manage to attack the guard, some of the Fazbear's Fright equipment will malfunction,
Oh my
forcing the guard
God.
to reboot them. It's strongly implied that the phantom hallucinations are conjured by Springtrap himself, as they only appear after he enters the building, and in the short story, What We Found, Springtrap similarly creates hallucinations after the main character, Hudson, touches his flesh.
So he's basically manifesting the bad things to happen. In reality, nothing happens. It's just to scare him.
He then starts seeing hallucinations of people who tormented him in the past.
Hmm.
If you look closely at the phantoms, you'll also notice that their eyes are very similar to Springtrap's, further
'Cause they're
implying
haunted.
he's behind their existence.
Got you. So Springtrap always has white glowy eyes.
Similar to Shadow Freddy, it's not clear how he makes these apparitions, but it probably has something to do with Agony or Remnant, or maybe it's just because Afton is seemingly undead. After completing the 6th night, titled Nightmare, it's revealed that Fazbear's Fright burnt to the ground.
Good!
The cause of this is likely due to the building's faulty wiring, but foul play is possible.
Yeah.
Maybe Henry or Michael set the location ablaze in an attempt to kill Springtrap.
Good.
In Sister Location's custom night, we see the charred remains of the building. During this scene, Michael Afton talks to his father, discussing the events of Sister Location, and he says that he's going after Springtrap, who is revealed
Right.
to have survived the fire.
So that was the first time they tried to burn him. And he survived.
This leads into Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator. Henry finally comes back into the picture to fix the mess that he's allowed to go on for so long. In his secret insanity-ending message, it's revealed that he somehow discovered that Afton destroyed Freddy's animatronics.
Yeah.
He set some kind of trap. I don't know what it was, but he led them there again. He overpowered them again. And he robbed them of the only thing that they had again.
Aw, fucking hell.
This message is also named HRY223.
Henry.
Likely an abbreviated version of Henry 2023. So
Oh,
it seems like Pizzeria
that's
Simulator
3 years
likely
ago.
takes place in the same year or sometime after. In the message, Henry says that unless he calls all the animatronics to one place, the children's
Right.
souls will never be at rest. So I'm pretty sure that means that their remnant isn't entered. In a blueprint, it's mentioned that he has the most remnant, furthering my suspicion that the missing children's remnant isn't him. It's worth noting that this blueprint was cut from the game, but is used in the Ultimate Guidebook, so it seems perfectly fine to use it for understanding the story. Anyways, along with that, a character named Candy Cadet tells stories in this game.
Cute.
All of which focus on 5 things becoming one, likely as a parallel to how the 5 missing children became entered. And
Right.
you might be asking, well, what about Baby? Isn't she an Ennard too? A conversation between FNAFworld.com and ScottGames.com reveals an individual arguing with a group of other characters who are tired of being bossed around and eject the individual from their body. It's pretty obvious that this conversation was between Baby and the fun times inside of Ennard. The other animatronics kicked Baby out of their body, and afterwards, it seems like Funtime Freddy became Ennard's dominant personality. Judging from how the amalgamation now wears a mask of him
What the fuck is that?
and speaks in his voice. This new version of Ennard is called Molten Freddy. It's also worth noting that his model features dripping remnant, which matches up with its description of bubbling liquid mercury from the Fazbear Fright's books. Anyways, after being ejected from Ennard, Baby's put herself back together using scrap, and is now
Fucking
known
hell.
as Scrap Baby.
She got some boobs though. Fuck my life. I'm jealous. It is a girl who's basically designing her ideal body. I get it.
The last 2 animatronics to discuss are the Puppet and Springtrap. After surviving the Fazbear's Fright fire, Afton also seems to have put himself back together. Rather than the groaning zombie of Five Nights at Freddy's 3, Pizzeria Simulator Afton is much more lively and talkative.
Right.
In the entry since his debut, Afton is usually depicted as more theatric. Just play him in Dead by Daylight for 5 minutes and you'll see what I mean.
You're mine now.
But if you don't have that, then just listen to this line from the 4th closet. When I called myself Springtrap, I was ecstatic with power, delirious over my newfound strength. Along
Damn.
with his newer personality, his appearance is drastically different. And according to Scott Cawthon himself, there's a lore reason for this. So Afton likely replaced his burnt costume with a different Spring Bonnie suit. Another possibility is that Scott just decided to redesign him. Anyways, the puppet is for sure in a new suit, named Lefty.
So Lefty is the puppet.
This animatronic bear was designed by Henry to capture the puppet and bring her to his pizzeria, named Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place. This location is opened and managed by Michael Afton. Henry then calls all the animatronics to the pizza place, with Scrap Baby under the impression that her father had summoned her to claim new victims at this pizzeria.
Damn.
Each night, the animatronics appear in the pizzeria's alleyway, and Michael salvages them. After bringing the animatronics in, they'll begin to terrorize him during the game's office segments. After salvaging all 4 of the haunted animatronics and surviving Saturday, Henry finally enacts his plan. It's revealed that he called the animatronics together to burn them inside of the pizzeria. Remnant doesn't hold up well when heated.
Remnant doesn't hold on well when it's heated. Don't you have to melt the metal to make Remnant?
So Henry sets the pizzeria ablaze to kill off everyone, including Michael, who he directly speaks to.
And to you, my brave volunteer, who somehow found this job listing not intended for you. Although there was a way out planned for you, I have a feeling that's not what you want. I have a feeling that you are right where you want to be. I am remaining as well. I am nearby.
While Michael and Henry are content with their fate, the animatronics are less thrilled.
Of course.
And to you monsters trapped in the corridors, be still and give up your spirits. They don't belong to you. For most of you, I believe there is peace and perhaps more waiting for you after the smoke clears. Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole. So don't keep the devil waiting, friend.
Oof. Bar.
My daughter, if you can hear me, I knew you would return as well. It's in your nature to protect the innocent. I'm sorry that on that day, the day you were shut out and left to die, no one was there to lift you up into their arms, the way you lifted others into yours. And then, what became of you? I should have known you wouldn't be content to disappear. Not my daughter. I couldn't save you then, so let me save you now. It's time to rest, for you, and for those you have carried in your arms. This ends, for all of us, in communication.
Unless it didn't, though.
The aftermath of the fire is a main focus in future entries, and it reveals that some characters actually survived. However, Michael, Henry, Circus Baby, and Molten Freddy never return again, likely having perished in the fire. With Molten Freddy's
Guess who
remnants
didn't?
destroyed, the missing children can finally rest. The game's lore keeper ending shows the final scene of the missing children's graves, with one on the hill overlooking the others. Likely Charlie's, symbolizing how she watched over and took care of them.
Yeah.
Despite Henry's great plan and awesome speech, it's revealed in the Fazbear Fright's books that Afton survived the fire.
Second time we're trying to birth the fucker, and he's still a fucking life. We need to bury him deep, deep, deep under the ground in a metal box.
And look, I know the book's canonicity is very controversial, especially with Secret of the Mimic only loosely following tales from the PizzaPlex. However, the Fazbear Fright's books are directly tied to the games through the Into the Pit game, which, similar to the books, has a bit of controversy surrounding its canonicity. But nothing about the game makes it explicitly non-canon. Sure, it's a spin-off, but so was Special Delivery, which was a canon entry in the series. The game's description says it's in the Five Nights at Freddy's universe, which was also used in Secret of the Mimic's marketing. Considering that was a canon game, I'd say that tagline further solidifies that Into the Pit is a canon game. And sure, the game has some inconsistencies in design and location, but let's not act like the mainline games are consistent.
I like
Into the Pit. It makes total
Pit.
sense that Freddy has buttons in FNAF 2, but only in his withered form and take cake to the children, but not in Save Them, and also not in FNAF 1. But he does have buttons in FNAF 3's minigames, but also not in the main gameplay. This is just one of the many inconsistencies that occurred when the games were made by Scott Cawthon alone. Into the Pit was developed by a whole other team at Megacat Studios, so it seems perfectly reasonable that there may be inconsistencies between their game and Scott Cawthon's games. Anyways, canonicity rant aside, since it seems like Into the Pit is canon, then that also means Afton's role in the books is somewhat canon too. The game not only references one of the story season, the man in room 1280, but the Stitch Wraith also appears in the game. And in the books, Afton serves as one of the main antagonists in their storyline, which we'll focus on later. It is worth noting that Into the Pit doesn't exactly follow the original story, and it doesn't look like the Fetch game will either. So just note that future Fazbear Frights games will likely play out somewhat different from the original stories.
Right.
The books aren't one for one with the events in the games, but the events of the stories translate to the games with roughly the same plot, characters, and story beats.
Gotcha.
So again, the Frights games likely won't have the same events as the books that we're about to discuss, but it should be close enough. Anyways, in the Fazbear Frights books, we learn that after burning in Pizzeria Simulator's fire, Afton is found and taken to Hercules Hospital.
Oh, they brought him to the hospital.
He's put on life support for years, but even after being taken off, he just won't die. And what exactly is keeping him alive? A vengeful spirit that attaches itself to Afton to ensure that he suffers. We learn that he experiences horrific nightmares while in the hospital. This seems to be referring to the events of Ultimate Custom Night, a game where we play as Afton being tormented by the animatronics from throughout the series. The spirit behind this torture is referred to as the one you should not have killed, and occasionally you can see their face during the game. We don't learn much about this character in Ultimate Custom Night. All we know is that the spirit is male.
I have seen him, the one you shouldn't have killed.
He's here and always watching, the one you shouldn't have killed.
This gender does match up with the identity of the spirit tormenting Afton in the books, that being Andrew, a young boy whose backstory is never quite explained. All we know is that he was killed by Afton.
Okay.
To quote him, "I do remember wanting to get back at someone who hurt me. I think I attached myself to him. I got into his soul, made sure he couldn't move on when he should have died. I remember I wanted him to suffer the way he made me suffer, but I don't remember what he did. I just know that I hung on, no matter what they did to him, to try and save him. I wanted him to hurt." This is very similar to what the vengeful spirit says in Ultimate Custom Night when he talks through the mediocre melodies. While these stolen MCM characters have mostly goofy dialogue, sometimes they get much more disturbing.
Right.
When this happens, you can hear a voice repeating what they say, that likely being the vengeful spirit puppeting them. And their dialogue sounds a lot like Andrew.
He tried to release you. He tried to release us.
That is a very nice voice.
But I'm not gonna let that happen. I will hold you here. I will keep you here, no matter how many times they burn us.
Ew!
This is how it feels, and you get to experience it over and over and over again, forever. I will never let you leave.
We've only just begun. I will never let you leave. I will never let you rest.
Ew!
Andrew and the one you should not have killed are
I
hell-bent
like
on
that.
making sure Afton can't move on, and that he suffers. So it seems like the identity of the one you should not have killed is Andrew himself. It's also likely that Andrew is the sixth kid that Afton killed at Freddy's in 1985, and the bonus Afton victim revealed in Toy Chica the high school years.
Yikes.
I just think it's reasonable to assume that Afton's sixth mystery victim introduced in Ultimate Custom Night is the same mystery victim tormenting him in that game.
Good.
I also know that a lot of people think the one you should not have killed is Golden Freddy, aka Cassidy. However, Cassidy is depicted as a girl in the fourth closet and returned to the pit, so she can't be the one you should not have killed since they're male. A lot of people like the idea of Golden Freddy being the one tormenting Afton, and therefore can be reluctant to accept Andrew. So I want to bring up this quote from Scott Cawthon. "Very few people will likely ever feel completely satisfied, as there are just too many headcanons out there and so many great ideas on where the story can
That
go.
is very
But I
true.
think there are good things to be found for people who are looking. All I can say is that some questions will be answered, even if it may not always be the answer you wanted. Be
Fair.
patient. Let me at least say this. Future games will look forward, but look to the novels to fill in some of the blanks of the past." This quote is very clearly saying to use the books to solve the story, even if those answers don't fit your ideas or headcanons.
Fair.
And Scott even confirmed that he's referring to the Fazbear Frights books. I'm pretty sure he had Andrew in mind when writing this, considering how the community has reacted somewhat unsatisfied and reluctant to the idea of him tormenting Afton. But that's not to say that Golden Freddy doesn't play a role in Ultimate Custom Night's story. If you set Old Man Consequence's AI to 0 and catch a fish, you're transported to his lake from FNAF World, and you play as a Freddy sprite. While in the zone, you can hear distorted sounds, which turn out to be Afton screaming, likely as Andrew torments him.
Nice. Sounds like revenge to me.
The Freddy sprite talks to Old Man Consequences, who tells him, leave the demon to his demons. Rest your own soul. There is nothing else.
Okay.
After being told this, you can submerge the Freddy sprite in the lake, which results in the game crashing. The other ending connected to Golden Freddy can be obtained after watching all of the game's intermissions and achieving a score of 9,800 points. Once you do all of this, there's a cutscene of Golden Freddy shaking. Judging from Golden Freddy using his Five Nights at Freddy's 1 appearance, I assume that means that the Freddy sprite was Golden Freddy, since their designs match up, both having 2 ears.
What?
Golden Freddy likely wasn't used for this cutscene since he's missing an ear.
Is there actually anyone who's done all of that? Like, do all the achievements and everything in order to get this cutscene? People are sweats with this game. It's ridiculous.
So he wouldn't have matched up with the Freddy sprite.
Oh,
Anyways,
fair.
the bear shrinks into the void and disappears. There are a lot of interpretations as to what this means. But I think that after talking with Old Man Consequences and agreeing to move on, Cassie / Golden Freddy is finally at peace, leaving Afton to be tormented by Andrew. Andrew keeps making Afton suffer in the events of the man in room 128. In that story, we follow the Hercules hospital staff and the priest surrounding Afton.
Oh yeah, they sent him to the fucking hospital, a dying corpse.
The hospital staff tries to kill the evil man, but they're thwarted by Andrew, who manifests as a young boy wearing an alligator mask, likely meant to be some sort of version of Montgomery Gator, who was
I was about to say that!
of the Mimic. This actually explains why Andrew speaks through the mediocre melodies in Ultimate Custom Night.
Oh, that's cute. I was about to say, oh my god, it looked like Monty.
We see the Monty
I like.
the Jug
Ooh,
Band,
these are
which
not
featured
cute.
some of the mediocre melody members. Since Andrew wears a Monty mask, it makes sense that he'd be connected to the members of his original band and company. His Monty mask also makes him look similar to a child we see in Five Nights at Freddy's 3's minigames.
I have not seen this child in the Five Nights at Freddy's 3 video games.
Possibly implying that they're Andrew. Anyways, in the story's ending, the priest, named Arthur, takes Afton to the Fazbear Entertainment District.
He looks like Voldemort. Look at him. He looks like fucking Voldemort. Harry Potter is dead.
Here he promptly explodes, spreading Andrew's anger throughout the items in the building.
What
His soul
the
ends up
fuck?
possessing an animatronic dog named Fetch, and Afton's spirit hitches a ride in Andrew's soul. This leads into the story Fetch.
So, Afton is a dog now. William Afton is a furry.
In the Into the Pit game, the minigame featuring Fetch plays out very differently from his original story. And since Scott Cawthon and Mega Cat Studios have both heavily teased a Fetch game, I assume he'll get a video game adaptation that's different from his original story. To briefly recap that story, a boy named Greg finds Fetch at an abandoned Freddy's location.
He's still a dog.
He connects the animatronic dog to his phone, and the robot starts following his commands, with some additional violence, likely due to Andrew and Afton haunting the animatronic. Fetch kills a dog, rips off Greg's uncle's finger, and the story ends with the implication that he's murdered Greg's crush. Again, this will likely play out very differently in the game adaptation. The Into the Pit minigame version of this story has us playing as a boy in Freddy's, that likely being Greg. We see a possessed Golden Freddy, which might imply that he didn't actually move on in Ultimate Custom Night. Anyways, after collecting 6 balloons, we put them in the room where Afton murdered his victims. Fetch is also in this room, and after exiting it, he violently mauls the players to death.
What the fuck?
That might mean that in the Fetch game, the animatronic dog will murder Greg in the ending. But again, we'll just have to see how things play out when the game releases.
Okay.
More importantly, this confirms that Andrew isn't just a parallel to Cassidy, as we see both Fetch, who is possessed by Andrew, and Golden Freddy, who is possessed by Cassidy, in the same minigame. So they both exist as separate characters. Diving back into the past, in Secret of the Mimic, we learned that the original concept for the Freddy's band featured Monty and Bub, an alligator and a dog animatronic. Once again, this game weirdly connects to Andrew. Monty and Bub both tie back to his appearances. He first wore an alligator mask before later possessing Fetch. In the game's Storytime book, the gator character is also referred to as an angry gator, and the dog is called a pesky puppy, matching up very well with Andrew's vengeful and troublesome behavior. Eventually, Fetch breaks down in a storm and ends up in the hands of a scientist named Dr. Phineas.
So Phineas and Ferb are in this bitch now. That's okay. That's great.
Who attaches Fetch's battery pack to an endoskeleton as part of an experiment regarding the power of human suffering, or agony as it's often referred to as. He then removes the head from a doll named Simon, who formerly belonged to a boy named Jake, who had cancer. The doll was made to represent all the adventures that Jake wanted to go on if he was healthy. But tragically, he died, and possessed the doll.
What is happening? How did we get from William Afton being in a hospital to a kid that turned into a dog, that turned into a puppet of a kid who died from cancer? What happened? Where did we flip it around? I'm so confused.
Has its head attached to the endoskeleton. This animatronic, known as the Stitch Wraith, now contains the souls of Jake, Andrew, and Afton.
Oh, great.
Jake reaches out for Phineas, only for the man to painfully die, withering and being left with black tear streaks running down from his eyes.
Shit.
This happens a couple more times with various humans throughout the books.
Shit.
This is because Andrew and Afton both have some influence over the Stitch Wraith too. Andrew says that he wants to scare people and give them a zap, but not murder them. Jake thinks that maybe someone else is in the animatronic with them.
Oh, bless him. He doesn't know what the fuck is that. What? He doesn't know what's happening. He's like, people are dying, but I don't want them to die.
I'm going to assume that Afton is the one murdering these people who are touched by the
he did a wheelie.
Neither of the boys possessing the animatronic fully remembered their life. Jake says he was sick, and Andrew accounts his time tormenting Afton and arriving at the Fazbear Entertainment Distribution Center, where he infected all of the items there and possessed Fetch. Jake decides that they need to track down all these infected items and stop them from hurting people. Over time, the Stitch Wraith collects various characters from throughout the Fright series who were infected by Andrew's agony. These include the plush trap chaser from Out of Stock, Ella from 1:35 a.m., Foxy from Step Closer.
Foxy! I know Foxy!
Fetch, since he's mentioned later to have been collected by the Stitch Wraith, even though Phineas already disassembled him. Now, let's
I don't know
dive
what's
into the
happening.
pit. No, not the short story, or the graphic novel, or the interactive novel.
But the
I'm
game.
talking about the full game developed by
Yes! I love this game!
If you're confused as to why I put this after Fetch and the Stitch Wraith being created, it's because in this game, there's an Easter egg where you can see the Stitch Wraith, meaning that he's already been built.
I love Easter eggs. I thought that was William Afton. Practically it is. But I thought that was like the Springtrap.
However, a lot of evidence also points to this being before Five Nights at Freddy's 3, such as some of the props from that game still being in an old Freddy's location, and the safe room being sealed up. But because of the Stitch Wraith's appearance,
So that was the safe
and because
room.
most of Fright's is after Pizzeria Simulator, I'm gonna say this is where it fits in the timeline. However, the events that led to the Stitch Wraith's creation in the games could have been entirely different. I assume they're mostly the same, but we'll just have to wait and see for sure.
So we're just winging it at this point. We're not exactly sure, but we're like semi-sure, but not completely sure.
This entry follows Oswald, a boy who lives in a town where pretty much everything is dead. Over the summer, his dad drops him off at Jeff's Pizza, which is the original 1985 Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, now owned by some guy named Jeff. One day, Oswald decides to hide in the establishment's ball pit. However, when he emerges from the pit, he's in the 1985 version of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
Honestly, this game is so good and so scary as well and so fun, but I don't think we talked about it enough. Honestly, I feel like we kind of forgot about it.
A lot of fans incorrectly assume that this is time travel. And you'd be forgiven, since the interactive novel adaptation of the story does actually include time travel. But no, it's basically a ghost world. It's explained more in the later epilogues, but it seems to be a graveyard for the victims of Eleanor.
Oh, well that's great.
A character who we'll focus more on later.
Okay.
The victims' memories are interwound in the ball pit, so when Oswald entered it, he traveled into a supernatural recreation of the past. It's shown in this game, and the epilogues, that the ball pit realm still has effects on the real world. Items can be carried between worlds, and events in the ghost realm can carry over to the real world.
Yep.
Anyways, here, Oswald encounters a monstrous representation of Afton's evil, known as the Yellow Rabbit or Yellow Thing. This creature is born from the agony of Afton's crimes.
So this is the agony. This is not Springtrap. I thought it was Springtrap. I won't lie.
In one of the endings, you can even see black tears dripping from his eyes, which are often used to represent agony. The Yellow Thing also appears to be a living organic creature, sporting flesh and fangs.
I've never seen this.
The creature recreates Afton's murders in the ghost realm, and tries to add Oswald to its list of victims, but he manages to escape back to reality. However, the Yellow Thing follows him through and drags his dad into the pit. He then replaces him in the real world, with everyone but Oswald seeing him as his father. Oswald sets out to save his dad, returning to the Freddy's realm to find him.
This is such a cool game. And I'm seeing it all again, and I'm like,
Throughout the game's 5 nights, he has to survive the Yellow Thing, Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica.
Yep.
You might have noticed that Foxy isn't in this game. And an interesting theory
that is
suggests
true.
that's because Oswald is experiencing the 1985 Freddy's from the memories of Fritz, the kid who possessed Foxy. This is implied in one of the endings, where the Yellow Thing catches Oswald. And when he wakes up in Freddy's, all the animatronics are friendly. His name in the dialogue boxes gets more and more distorted, until his eyes start glowing like the Yellow Thing. And the achievement icon implies he's becoming animatronic too.
I have never seen this. I only got the ending where I save the dead, and then we move on. Like, I've seen that. I've never seen this.
Interestingly, Oswald stops right in front of Pirate's Cove. Further implying
That is
the ball pit world
true.
is based around the memories of Fritz. Explaining why Foxy is absent, and why it seems like Oswald becomes him in this ending. Anyways,
my
back to the main gameplay. Oswald finds more of the creature's victims at Freddy's, but luckily, he's able to save them. On the 5th and final night, he enters the party room.
That is so interesting.
Just a redecorated safe room, judging from the keycard required to get in, and the fact that it's sealed up in the present, which is what happened to the safe rooms following Afton's murders.
Amazing.
In this room, Oswald saves the final still living child, and if the player has found all of his dad's items, then he'll discover a picture of Henry and Afton.
I totally missed all of this. Do I need to replay this game? Alright.
This item is crucial for the 3-star ending, which appears to be the canon route.
Also, I've not seen that!
Secret room, where Oswald's dad is being kept. He
Yes.
unties him, but the Yellow Thing enters the room and drags him away.
Yeah.
Oswald rushes after them. He punches the rabbit, and as he's running to his dad, he drops the photo of Henry and Afton. The Yellow Thing picks it up, and seeing the man he's representing makes him go a little haywire, giving Oswald time to pull his dad back to the real world. The Yellow Thing follows them through and attacks Oswald, but he gets caught in the pit's netting. He frantically struggles until he's strangled to death. After the creature's defeat, Oswald's dad recovers, and they both apologize to each other. In the 3-star ending, Oswald's dad decides they should stay in town and make the best of things. This is very similar to the ending of the original book.
Oh, bless them.
And its 3-star rating matches up with the rating given to the canon ending in Security Breach.
So
it seems like this is the true ending. The game concludes with Oswald's family enjoying a meal in a now much more clean and lively Jeff's Pizza.
Aw,
And
nice.
speaking of Oswald's family, sometimes when opening the attic in their house, a Freddy mask will fall down. This might imply that Oswald's dad was the Freddy bully from Five Nights at Freddy's 4. They both have brown hair and similar skin tones. And the Foxy Bully and Bonnie Bully...
Is he saying boy or bully?
And the Foxy Bully and Bonnie Bully are both main characters.
He's saying bully.
The Foxy Bully was Michael Afton, played a major role in the original games. And the Bonnie Bully is strongly implied to be the father of Cassie from Ruin, and the protagonist in Help Wanted 2. But we'll get to that later. Throughout Into the Pit, there are 3 secret mini-games tied to Fazbear Fright stories. So this will serve as a good time to recap those. There's the previously mentioned Fetch minigame, and a minigame based on Count the Ways. In this story, a girl named Millie avoids her family during the holidays by hiding inside of Funtime Freddy, who her grandfather had collected from a dump. It's never made clear if this is one of the Funtime Freddy clones from Special Delivery, which we'll cover later.
What the fuck?
Or if this happened sometime before Pizzeria Simulator, and this is just a much less scrappy
Fever Dream.
Regardless, the animatronic bear makes her choose how to die, and eventually decapitates her. The last minigame is a recap of To Be Beautiful. This story follows Sarah, a girl who rescues an animatronic named Eleanor from a dump. And to reward her, the animatronic promises to make her dreams come true. Sarah wishes to be beautiful. So after putting on a heart pendant necklace from Eleanor and promising to never take it off, every morning that she wakes up, she's more beautiful. However, when the pendant inevitably falls off, it's revealed that her new body is a bunch of trash. It turns out that Eleanor had been cutting up her body and replacing it with garbage.
Oh my god.
She steals Sarah's original appearance and leaves the girl to fall apart into a pile of trash.
Oh my god.
To become a major antagonist in Fazbear Frights. But we never discover her origins.
Who is this bitch? And why is she a psycho?
Although it's implied in the Return to the Pit interactive novel that she's been around since at least 1985.
Right.
In the Fright's epilogues, that for 30 years, she's been coming in and out of the ball pit and bleeding. The dates associated with her blood samples found in the pit coincide with bizarre incidents ranging from missing teenagers to all sorts of strange events. In multiple
So where was she in the game?
Parents had reported their teens finding Eleanor before they disappeared, similar to what happened to Sarah. However, not every missing teen is associated with Eleanor. But
No.
every disappearance is connected to the dates from her blood samples.
Blood samples? But why was there no blood on the pit in the game? Or did I just look over it and maybe there was and I'm just tripping balls?
All these disappearances are likely the main characters from throughout the Fazbear Fright's books. It's revealed that Eleanor's behind the events of most of the stories, such as To Be Beautiful, Out of Stock, 1:35 a.m., Step Closer, Hide and Seek, Blackbird, and maybe even the man in room 1280.
Are these all gonna be games? That would be awesome.
In a dream sequence from the later epilogues, Eleanor bursts out of Afton's chest while he's in the hospital.
What?
Her cheeks are made from his skin, and her teeth are red with blood.
That emoji is exactly how I feel right now. What the fuck is he saying?
In the story, it's mentioned that there were two signals in Afton's brain fighting with each other, so Eleanor might have been one of those. She was also likely behind Afton's motive to go to the Fazbear Entertainment Distribution Center, so that Andrew's agony would get spread throughout the items there, causing more chaos. Eleanor coming out of Afton's chest might also mean that she was born from his agony. Furthermore, Jake later wonders if the chaos of the series created Eleanor, so maybe all the agony from Afton's crimes formed Eleanor. This would also add more significance to her Circus Baby appearance.
I was literally about to say she looks like Circus Baby, so is it not just Circus Baby?
Since Baby was possessed by Afton's daughter, Eleanor looking like Baby could symbolize that she was born from Afton's deeds.
Oh.
Also, side note, but Into the Pit game also has a lot of other ties to stories, such as Kids at Play, Pizza Kit, The Man in Room 1280, Sergio's Lucky Day, and Room for One More. Now let's continue the story using the Fazbear Fright's books, which again may play out differently when they're adapted to the game. So just keep that in mind.
Not the
In
books.
the epilogues, a detective named Everett Larson has been following the Stitch Wraith, learning of its origins, and that's been living in a factory. Before he goes to face them, he visits the police department's evidence lockers and looks through boxes that contain the remains of a fire.
What the fuck am I watching?
One of the founders of Fazbear Entertainment. This is likely referring to Henry's fire from Pizzeria Simulator.
What is happening? I just saw a dude with a fake mustache looking around, sniffing a Freddy Fazbear mug.
Which is seemingly confirmed by the Ultimate Guide. However, FNAF guidebooks can be a bit unreliable. But more solid evidence presents itself when Larson takes the puppet's mask from the evidence locker, planning to use it to communicate with the Stitch Wraith. The animatronic had been previously seen at the fire site, possibly looking for the remains of the haunted animatronics burnt there. This gives Larson the idea to bring the puppet's remains to the Stitch Wraith. He tracks the endoskeleton to an abandoned factory, and discovers using a trash compactor to destroy the objects infected by Andrew's agony.
Oh.
While Andrew wants to kill Larson so they can continue to destroy the infected objects in peace, Jake doesn't want to hurt anyone, so he takes control of the animatronic's body, turning on the trash compactor and throwing the Stitch Wraith in. Jake and Andrew's spirits start to float free from the animatronic, but Afton's ghost appears and tries to hold Andrew back.
Of
Jake
course.
anchors himself back to the Stitch Wraith and knocks Andrew free from Afton and the animatronic.
Damn, what the fuck?
Likely having been set free. Afton's spirit then forms a giant amalgamation from all of the infected items along with Eleanor. He then tries to kill Detective Larson. Now that Afton has come back, the puppet springs to life and tells Larson to take her to him.
So this is what he means when he said, I always come back. Of course.
As he uses a forklift to push Afton toward a lake, the puppet jumps into his trashy body. This causes Eleanor to quickly abandon Afton's amalgamation.
Oh, shit.
And he looks at her pleadingly as she flees. The puppet then tears Afton's body apart and it collapses into the lake, finally spelling the end for William Afton's murderous life.
Fuck.
The puppet's mask also falls into the lake, signifying that she's at rest. While this victory against Afton is monumental, Jake realizes that he wasn't as strong as he had acted. In fact, he was barely clinging to reality, so Henry's plan wasn't all in vain. And just to reiterate, the only reason Afton survived that fire was because Andrew was keeping him alive.
True.
Anyways, it turns out that Eleanor had been powering Afton, but it seems like the puppet's arrival scared her off,
I get
causing her
that.
to abandon the amalgamation. During the fight, both Jake and Larson had been infected with Eleanor's agony by Afton.
I get
Eleanor had
that.
retrieved it from Jake herself, and he now has to burn the agony infection out of Larson. This makes the detective figure that the Stitch Wraith isn't all that bad, and he starts to experience strange visions of memories. The Freddy's band performing in the 80s, a movie theater, hanging out with friends that aren't his. And in between all of this, he sees the same thing.
I am not sure what I'm looking at right now. I won't lie. I think about like 4 minutes ago, my brain just kind of went like blank and I was just like, what is happening? I just hope anyone let me know or someone let me know what the fuck is happening here because I don't get it.
It seems like these visions are memories of Eleanor's victims, whose
Yep.
spirits are trapped in the pit. In fact, the 80s Freddy's memory that Larson saw is likely the same memory that Oswald experienced during Into the Pit. Larson formed some sort of connection to the pit's spirits when he was infected by Eleanor's
Oh, but they
agony.
are
He
spirits.
eventually tracks the ball pit to Jeff's Pizza, although it's not exactly clear if the restaurant is still open at this point. He scrapes blood samples from the pit and learns about Eleanor's past and her connection to the missing teens throughout the series. Speaking of Eleanor, currently she's gaining Jake's trust by appearing as a runaway girl.
She is so happy.
He helps get her back home to the house of Dr. Talbert, a friend of
Who?
the deceased Dr. Phineas, and a remnant specialist who had been called in to help investigate Eleanor's crimes.
Dr.
When Talbert's
Doven's
daughter
meat.
Renelli was younger, she was very sick.
Is that Huggy Wuggy on her t-shirt?
So he made her a heart pendant necklace using Remnant so he can never lose her entirely. It's very likely that this is the same heart pendant that Eleanor gave Sarah. Detective
No.
Larson also noticed Eleanor wearing it in crime scene photos, and she wears it in the present. We learned from Eleanor that 2 years prior to the present events, Renelli's mother died. Talbert couldn't deal
Mother?
with this, and he focused on his work.
Oh,
He sent Renelli
got you.
off to a school for troubled kids.
Send her to a school for troubled kids while she was fucking ill?
But when she got out, she stole his money, and he retaliated by kicking her out. It can be assumed that when Renelli was homeless, she
Damn.
lost the heart pendant necklace, and it was discovered by Eleanor. It seems like the remnant contained in this pendant gives her the power to carry out all of her crimes throughout the series and feed on the human suffering she creates. Speaking of which, she morphs into Talbert's daughter to trick him into giving her remnant, which makes her much more dangerous and powerful.
Uh-oh.
Larson shows up at Talbert's house too, but using her remnant powers, Eleanor knocks him out and traps him in a dream, playing her greatest murder hits.
Oh,
However,
shit.
Larson manages to repeatedly fight and defeat Eleanor in this weird dream realm. He then
What the
returns to the
fuck?
pit in this world and enters a new memory at a different time, where he once again fights the clown monster.
So the pit is just a time travel machine. Like, where did it come from? It was just there. See, that's the things I want to know. Where did the pit come from? Was it just there, or did they make it on purpose? Like, I don't know.
The repeated defeats weaken Eleanor, allowing Jake to access her memories and stuff her in a moment of seething anger and anguish.
Uh-oh.
He then integrates her remains into the Stitch Wraith's body, trapping her as a passenger and endoskeleton. 2 weeks later,
Damn.
with what little power remains in Fetch's battery pack, he takes their body to the ball pit to lay her to rest.
In the ball pit? That is not a place to rest, kiddo. That is not a place to rest.
After their body sinks into the pit, Jake's spirit helps give all the victims trapped within their happiest day. For example, in a recreation of the night Millie died, he leads her spirit to her family, giving her the Christmas that funtime Freddy robbed her of. Also, considering Millie's spirit is trapped in the pit, it's likely that Eleanor was responsible for the events surrounding her death and Count the Ways.
Okay.
But if the theory that the ball pit also contains Fritz's memories is correct, then maybe the spirits and memories in the pit aren't just Eleanor's victims. But speculation aside, all of the balls in the pit light up with their own happy scene, finally putting all these victims to rest.
So it's like Inside Out.
Following this, we get a final segment with Larson, once again at Dr. Talbert's house, now asking what Remnant is. After Talbert explains the supernatural conducting metal, he gives Larson the heart pendant necklace. Larson
Damn.
asks what exactly the pendant is haunted by, but he receives no response. As he exits the house, he hears the pendant softly singing, yet another loose end in the series.
Who the fuck is this dude, though?
Personally, I think the pendant might be haunted by the remnant of Dr. Talbert's late wife, but
You
that's
think?
just a theory. Speaking of theories, these final few epilogues have a lot of interesting implications for Into the Pit. If you haven't picked up on it yet, it's strongly implied that Oswald is actually dead. As we already discussed, Oswald uses the ball pit to travel between the allegedly real world and the 1985 Freddy's.
Yeah.
Which is suspiciously similar to what Larson did when he was intertwined with the ball pit's memories. He would enter the pit and exit in a different place and point in time.
Right.
Which seems to be a memory of Eleanor's victims. This is almost exactly how Oswald used the pit to travel between worlds, possibly suggesting that he was actually trapped in the pit all along. Also, the game's 3-star ending parallels Jake giving Millie her happiest day in the books. Both endings involve the kids being reunited with their family and enjoying time with them. So maybe the entirety of Into the Pit isn't actually what it seems. Maybe Oswald was killed by Eleanor before the events of the story.
That is crazy. I don't want to think about that. I like the game, and that's all I cared about, to be honest.
And his spirit was trapped in the pit. Then while reliving his memories, he finds the ball pit. And similar to Larson, he uses it to travel to different memories in the pit. In my opinion, this explains a lot of the weird stuff going on in that game. Like why Oswald is shown drawing animatronics at the start, before he even knew they existed, and how him and the yellow rabbit can seamlessly travel between worlds. They're just jumping between memories in the pit. None of this is actually in the real world, explaining why it's all so bizarre. The memories of the real world are likely Oswald's own memories from before he died, similar to how Millie relived her memories in the pit. Then, as we discussed earlier, the Freddy's memory is likely from Fritz. Oswald being a ghost in the ball pit may also explain why the Stitch Wraith appears in this game.
Yeah, because Fritz was Foxy, I think. No. Oswald was supposed to be Foxy.
It's Jake and Oswald's memories setting up the 3-star ending, similar to how he gave Millie her happiest day. Speaking of endings, if you leave Freddy's, the game ends with Oswald wandering in the past. And if you try to do this again later, he mentions that ending. While this could just be a fun Easter egg, it might further imply that Oswald's soul is trapped in limbo within the pit. I think this helps make sense of the game's outlandish story, and nicely ties with how Larson jumped between the ball pit's memories. So maybe the Into the Pit game, or at least the 3-star ending, actually takes place at the end of the Fright's books, when Jake gives the pit's victims their happiest day. Speaking of the games, let's get back to them. Starting with the virtual reality experience, Help Wanted.
I actually have this game. I just never played it because I don't have a VR.
After the years of tragedies surrounding Fazbear Entertainment, they're in a desperate need of a rebrand.
Okay.
The first attempt involves hiring an indie game developer to make games based on the real events of the series.
Those indie games were designed to conceal and make light of what happened. This isn't just an attempt to rebrand. It's an elaborate cover-up. A campaign to discredit everything.
Okay.
However, this just ends up tarnishing the brand further. So they claim that the developer is a rogue lunatic, and they hire a game studio to develop a virtual reality game.
I don't know if we are talking about real life now or lore.
That being the Freddy Fazbear virtual experience.
Nice.
This was made to poke fun at the indie games and the stories surrounding the brand. In order to speed up the development, Fazbear Entertainment sends the game studio junk like vintage circuit boards, telling them to scan it into the game to quickly program the animatronics pathfinding and personalities. However, after scanning these in, a malicious code known as Glitchtrap manifests in the game. There's been a lot of debate surrounding his identity. Most people think he's either Afton, due to his yellow rabbit appearance, or the Mimic's M2 program manifesting in VR.
Ooh.
I strongly believe he's the Mimic, since the endoskeleton has a lot of connections to Glitchtrap that will discuss here. First is his looks. While Afton wore a yellow rabbit springlock suit, Glitchtrap appears as a mascot costume, similar to the ones from Murray's Costume Manor.
Oh, that is true, actually.
This rabbit anomaly is noticed by a beta tester named Jeremy, which is our third Jeremy of the series.
Yeah.
The dead Jeremy, the one that got his frontal lobe nommed off, and now we have beta tester Jeremy.
Okay, yo.
He tries to tell the development team that something is wrong, even complaining about night terrors to his boss Dale.
Okay, so we're in the lore, guys. We're actually in the game.
Buddy isn't given much sympathy. They start to build up a case to fire him, but before that can happen, it's implied that he injured himself with a paper guillotine.
How does that work? Work accident? My ass.
Possibly cutting off his face.
There was something that looked like a Halloween mask laying on the floor. Ink must have spilled. It was only then that I heard a shuffle from the testing room and realized Jeremy must be there. I couldn't see his face. He had the visor covering his head. He had ink spilled on himself as well.
Oh my god.
Whatever happened here resulted in a lawsuit, and the development team prepared to pass the game
Wonder
off
why?
to another studio. A woman known only as Tape Girl takes over beta testing, and is given 3 days to finish up Jeremy's work. During this time, she starts recording warnings for the next game studio, documenting the game's troubled development and Glitchtrap. When playing through a recreation of the original Five Nights at Freddy's, she sees Glitchtrap for the first time.
There was a character I couldn't make out who it was, standing at the end of the hall. But then it was looking in the window. And not like Chica or Bonnie would. It was like it was actually looking in the window, seeing what I was doing.
Damn.
On her last day of beta testing, Glitchtrap is mysteriously absent. And after further inspection, she discovers that he attached himself to her recordings.
Oh,
Unfortunately,
shit.
she stored them in a protected part of the game. so she's unable to delete them. But to stop Glitchtrap, she fragments the tapes, breaking him up along with them. Afterwards, the game is passed on to the next studio, where a new beta tester named
Sony
Vanessa takes over. As Vanessa tests the game, she finds Tape Girl's logs, and begins to collect them, unknowingly resembling Glitchtrap. As she finds more and more, he becomes clearer and gets closer to her. You can even hear him mimicking Tape Girl's voice, further implying that he's the mimic. Speaking of which, in the final level, Pizza Party, Glitchtrap recreates Afton's murders and stuffs Vanessa and Freddy Fazbear on stage.
Oh my
This
god.
is a direct parallel to the overtime ending from Secret of the Mimic.
Yep.
Where the endoskeleton stuffs Arnold in the prototype Fredbear on the stage of MCM's Mock Freddy.
Oh my god.
Anyways, in the final log, Tape Girl explains that there might be a way to kill Glitchtrap. He wants to escape the game by merging with someone playing it. But when he does
shit.
this, Vanessa can trigger a hard reset of the game and flush the memory, destroying him. However, when she tries this, it doesn't quite work out. She finds herself trapped behind a door, with Glitchtrap shushing her before retreating into the darkness.
Because Vanessa was Vanny also walking like that in Security Breach. She merged with Glitchtrap.
It seems like he managed to partially merge with her. Not
Yeah.
fully taking her over, but still managing to get in her mind, turning her into a reluctant follower of him. Back in the lobby, Glitchtrap now appears as a plushie. Following Vanessa's Glitchtrap infection, she returns to the Freddy Fazbear virtual experience, which now is a bonus Curse of Dreadbear DLC.
I haven't seen this, and I apologize because the last time I reacted to something, I called this a fan-made game, and I'm really sorry. I didn't know it was a DLC, and people were yelling at me and getting mad at me and cussing me the fuck out. I've never seen it. I saw Fazbear Fast, or Festival, or Halloween Fast, or whatever the fuck, and then I saw a zombie Freddy. So I was like, that's fan-made. I'm sorry for assuming I won't do it anymore, but damn.
This adds new Halloween
Didn't know
levels,
this
which are good
existed.
fun. But more interestingly, the main location of this DLC is Fall Fest. If you remember back in Secret of the Mimic, Fiona Murray died at a fire in one of these events.
Yep.
However, the Fall Fest depicted here is from 1983, the same year as the Five Nights at Freddy's 4 minigames. So it seems like Fall Fest went on for a couple more years after that disastrous fire.
What the
Fall
fuck?
Fest in Curse of Dreadbear isn't innocent either, as a dark secret lies in the corn maze. When Vanessa collects all the exit keys, a purple glitchy key will spawn. And when she obtains that, she's able to access the cellar in the center of the maze.
Okay.
Here she collects a white rabbit mask, which she apparently created herself. And this character will come to be known as Vanny. Back in the lobby, she talks to the Glitchtrap plushie.
Yes, I hear you. I know. No,
That's crazy.
there's no miscommunication. I understand.
Oh my god.
Yes, I have it.
F what? The key?
Myself.
Oh, the mask.
I think you would like it.
Got it.
No, no one suspects anything. Don't worry. I'll be ready. And I won't let you down.
This is so cool.
It will be fun.
Ooh.
Now it's time for what is undoubtedly the best FNAF game, the AR spin-off, Special Delivery.
Oh.
After the events of Help Wanted and its Curse of Dreadbear DLC, Vanessa now works at Fazbear Entertainment. Another person employed there is Lewis, who in Special Delivery works in IT, but later in Security Breach, Vanessa says he's in marketing. So
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
quite sure if that's an inconsistency or if he just changed career paths.
Fair.
Anyways, Vanessa's internet searches set off a lot of red flags in the IT department. Some of the most interesting searches are how to induce compliance in human subjects, how to induce self-compliance, and help.
Just help? That is wild.
These are clearly Glitchtrap attempting to make Vanessa less reluctant. It is worth
Yeah.
noting how strange these sound. Glitchtrap asking how to induce compliance in human subjects makes it seem like he might not have ever been a human. Adding on to that, Glitchtrap's research also implies that he isn't Afton, since William Afton is a master manipulator and wouldn't need to search up stuff like this.
That is true. Afton would have figured that out himself.
Vanessa also orders 3 lifelike human male rubber masks, which will be important later on. Some other notable things we learn are her discussing IT with Lewis. And later when he goes to see her, he finds her with her face close to her computer monitor, and there are voices coming from the computer. Again, this likely being Glitchtrap. Meanwhile, Fazbear Entertainment has a new business venture.
Markiplier!
The Fazbear Funtime Service. This service delivers animatronics right to your doorstep to provide entertainment and companionship.
Did Markiplier actually, like, do a camo in one of these games? Because that's low-key fire.
Similar to Help Wanted, they provide their contractors with vintage hardware. This time around, they send them full animatronics. Their contractors use power tools to remove the animatronics casing and extract vintage circuit boards. Then the next day, Fazbear Entertainment sends out a memo to all their contractors, telling them to halt work on all contracts. Especially concerning any vintage hardware. It seems like after the issues the circuit boards and Help Wanted caused, namely unleashing Glitchtrap.
So this is a mobile game. I didn't even know that was a mobile game. I won't lie.
Fazbear Entertainment wants to avoid that mistake again. Unfortunately, their email comes in too late. The last circuit board that the Fazbear Funtime service contractors scanned unleashed a virus into their systems. Considering that this is the same way that Glitchtrap found his way into the Freddy Fazbear virtual experience,
True.
It seems like these animatronic circuit boards also contain some of his code, and now he's spread through the Fazbear Funtime service.
So he's a virus.
We sadly never learn what animatronics these circuit boards came from. All we know is that there were multiple of them, and the last circuit board unleashed Glitchtrap. Anyways, this leads into the main gameplay of Special Delivery, where the service's animatronics begin hunting down the people renting them, likely due to Glitchtrap's malicious influence. The featured characters in the evil delivery service—
that was Huggy Wuggy!
Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, Golden Freddy, Endo01, all of the toy animatronics, Plushtrap, Jacko, Bonnie, and Chica, Circus Baby, Funtime Freddy, Ballora, and a bunch of wacky skins or character variants.
Fucking hell, that's a lot of animatronics. Okay.
The Fazbear Funtime service also features recreations of Springtrap, which somehow ended up in their deployment rotation by accident.
Oh, by
likely
accident.
Glitchtrap and Vanessa are responsible for this.
Of
the
course.
lifelike human male rubber masks might have been ordered by Vanessa to make these Springtrap clones' corpses. As we mentioned way earlier in this video, during this game, RWQFSFASXC, aka Shadow Bonnie,
Someone just smashed some keys on their keyboard and was like, yeah, we're gonna go with that.
can appear if you collect too much Dark Remnant, implying that the Shadow animatronics are made from Dark Remnant, which is likely Agony.
Okay.
Speaking of which, Remnant is a mechanic in this game. You can collect and use it on your animatronics to make them stronger. The last thing I want to mention here is that there are going to be a lot more story emails and characters in this game, but sadly, they were scrapped. And unlike the Monster Freddy blueprint, they don't appear in the Ultimate Guidebook, so we won't be using them as part of the story.
Great!
This game also featured a DLC called Dark Circus Encore. This level allows players to explore the Fazbear Circus, finding clues, solving puzzles, and fighting animatronics.
What
the
the
three
fuck?
threats here are Ringmaster Foxy,
That is so cool. Ringmaster Foxy.
Ballora, and an exclusive escape artist Golden Freddy skin known as Great Escape Golden Freddy.
That is cool.
After defeating all three animatronics, you're treated to a montage of them deactivated, before Great Escape Golden Freddy's eyes turn back on.
Uh-oh.
This DLC doesn't really contribute much to the story, besides adding the Fazbear Circus as a location, and maybe serving as Fall Fest foreshadowing. However, it's worth noting that the purple key used to access the circus could be connected to the glitchy purple key from Curse of Dreadbear.
Yes.
Sadly, on March 14th, 2024, Special Delivery was shut down and the game is no longer playable.
Oh, that's
Although
sad.
fan-made continuations like Forsaken AR let you play the game with new additions.
Oh.
Which is how we got the footage for this video.
Great.
After Special Delivery, Fazbear Entertainment opens Freddy Fazbear's Mega PizzaPlex, a giant mall-like entertainment venue, which is constructed over the burnt remains of Freddy Fazbear's.
I am so excited about this part. It's about Security Breach, and I love Security Breach so much. It's my fave.
Pizza place from Pizzeria Simulator. The stars of the PizzaPlex are glam rock variants of Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Roxanne Wolf. In case you forgot, Roxy was originally created by Fiona Murray. These new animatronics are developed in the Playpen, which is a nursery-like room within the PizzaPlex's endoskeleton warehouse. The endoskeleton's personality starts out as a blank canvas, with PizzaPlex employees and murals teaching them how to interact with guests. Their motivation chips encourage the endoskeletons to develop their own personality, so they can become the next PizzaPlex star. Speaking of the animatronics, it's strongly implied that Glamrock Freddy and Bonnie developed a romantic relationship. In Ruin, there's a poster from Freddy and Bonnie's green room that reads, "You and me, forever and ever."
They were lovers! That is the most adorable thing I've ever seen in my life. I didn't know that. Also, guys, I'm going in this blank. I know I just reacted to a security breach lore thing where they thought that Gregory was actually Crying Child and that Freddy was Michael and that Vanessa was actually Elizabeth. I am taking all of that information out of my head and I'm just booking it. I am going in completely blank. I wanted to say something else, but I'm not going to.
The two also wear matching earrings.
Oh!
They might have been in a relationship. The PizzaPlex has other animatronics, such as DJ Music Man, the daycare attendant, and Montgomery Gator, all of which are also characters from Murray's Costume Manor.
Yep.
DJ Music Man is a giant spider-like variant of
Ticketmaster,
who appears to have been based on the Big Top from MCM. The daycare attendant's moon appearance is also very clearly based on MCM's Sleepy Moon mascot.
Oh.
And their sun personality is based on MCM's and F10 and 4's sun character.
Okay.
Last, but certainly not least, Montgomery Gator is a new version
was
of
in
Drunk
there.
Monty,
Yeah.
who was also supposed to be a part of the original Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
Yep.
Eventually,
With Bub.
Fazbear introduces the staff bots to the PizzaPlex. These animatronics replace all the human staff, and they appear to be based on Edwin Murray's Digityper bots.
Yeah.
The PizzaPlex's wet floor
Cool.
bots also seem to be based on the
The
Cleano
sweepers.
Vac.
Yep.
All of these characters are side attractions, but Monty strives to become a
Fuck.
star.
So cute. I love that I know these references now. You know how cool that is when you finally pick up on things?
One night, Glamrock's characters are side attractions, but Monty strives to become a star. One night, Glamrock Bonnie wanders into Monty Golf, and it's strongly implied that he's destroyed by Monty. His broken body is covered in slash marks and green paint, and his glasses even seem to have been stolen by Monty.
Oh, that's
One of Ruin's
crazy!
game designers, Julia Redden, also seems to have confirmed that Monty killed Bonnie. After Bonnie's destruction, Fazbear Entertainment replaces him with Monty, and it makes a cover-up story saying that Bonnie left the band and passed his role onto Montgomery. It's also worth noting that this conflict between an angry gator and a rabbit seems to be a parallel to Andrew and Willie Mafton. Unfortunately, the PizzaPlex has bigger issues than just Monty.
Uh-oh.
Vanessa and Glitchtrap want to take over the establishment and use it as their new murder site.
Yep.
At Fazbear Entertainment, Vanessa has encrypted conversations with someone, likely Glitchtrap or Gregory, who is a young boy seemingly corrupted by Glitchtrap 2, which is implied in Tales from the PizzaPlex by his nickname at school being Dr. Rabbit, and him assisting Glitchtrap's takeover of the PizzaPlex, which we'll discuss more later. It is worth noting that one of Vanessa's encrypted conversations might have been what Lewis overheard in Special Delivery. He said there were multiple voices from Vanessa's computer, those possibly being Glitchtrap and Gregory. Both of Glitchtrap's followers have therapy sessions, with Vanessa's being mandated, and Gregory being the therapist at school where they work as counselors. Each time one of the therapists gets close to uncovering Glitchtrap's plans, Gregory lures them to the PizzaPlex and he kills them, either by using electronics or some sort of machinery. And eventually, he ends up with a new therapist, who he'll inevitably end up killing.
Whoa, that went from 0 to 100 real quick, guys.
We also learned from these therapy sessions that as a child, Vanessa's dad named Bill made her follow instructions to make her mother look bad during their custody battle. Her mother lost custody, and it's implied that after losing her daughter, she tragically took her own life. It's revealed that whoever Vanessa's communicating with has hacked her personal files, likely using those traumatic details about her dad to further manipulate her. Vanessa says she's compartmentalized her feelings relating to her father, and since she hasn't resolved those, it likely allows Glitchtrap to easily manipulate her.
Yeah.
She's also been purchasing fur to make a costume, which could be connected to those rubber masks that she ordered in Special Delivery. When the therapist asks further, she freaks out, saying someone would always be watching, likely referring to Glitchtrap and Gregory keeping an eye on her. During this time, the PizzaPlex is hiring a chief security officer, and they interview Vanessa. There's a recommendation for her that comes from the top of Fazbear. But despite that, the interviewer doesn't think she fits the job.
Damn.
However, their message is marked for deletion, and as shown in Security Breach, she ends up getting the position. The recommendation for Vanessa likely came from Glitchtrap and Gregory hacking Fazbear Entertainment.
Of course they did. Fucking hell.
And they probably deleted the message denying her the job. Sadly, not even a new workplace can turn around Vanessa's luck. After reviewing communications going in and out of the building, the PizzaPlex technicians discover Gregory manipulating someone, likely Vanessa. They also catch him on the security footage talking to something with rabbit ears. Possibly Vanessa wearing the costume that she had been working on, known as Vanny. Vanny is her own rabbit persona that she created back in Curse of Dreadbear, and is seemingly based on David's white tiger plush from Secret of the Mimic.
Oh shit.
Back in Help Wanted, when talking about Vanny, Vanessa told Glitchtrap,
I made it myself. I think you would like it.
Yep.
This is even more interesting when you notice that the Vanny costume's coloring, paws, and eyes are very similar to David's tiger plush.
Yeah.
Possibly meaning that she based the costume on the doll to appeal to Glitchtrap, who again is probably the Mimic.
Mimic. Got you.
Anyways, the PizzaPlex technicians are struggling to fix some serious glitches with the animatronics that make them act eerie. According to the current therapist, the glitch went system-wide and is broadcasting a very dangerous message. The technicians trace the glitch back to its origin, and it leads them to Gregory, revealing that he's responsible for the PizzaPlex's glitches.
Oh,
When
Gregory!
In the glitch, he turns into a set of subroutines in the animatronic systems,
What?
seemingly allowing him to control the bots. While the animatronics continue to behave normally, they've secretly been turned into Glitchtrap's minions. Along with that, the PizzaPlex has wind-up Music Men prototypes on display, but they're stolen. Vanessa claims that there's no sign of a break-in.
What
so
the
it's likely
fuck?
that she took them herself and covered it up.
Yeah.
Employees report hearing loud clanging, banging, and scraping noises from the vents. And in Security Breach, we see that the cause of this is the wind-up Music Men.
Yep.
It seems like Gregory or Vanessa made them hostile, and unleashed them into the PizzaPlex vents to assist with their crimes.
Yeah.
Glitchtrap also influences the PizzaPlex's endoskeletons by having one of his followers mess with their learning murals.
Yeah, those endoskeletons were a pain in the booty hole. I cannot deal with them. I really fucking can. They are so annoying.
Teaching them to avoid taking care of children and instead harm them. Now onto the more messy parts of the PizzaPlex.
Yeah!
We learn from one of Security Breach's endings that Vanessa used Freddy to clear a path into the pizza place, which now resides in a sinkhole under the PizzaPlex. It's never made clear why she did this, but the same ending sheds some light on the sinkhole, and reveals that there are two characters residing down there. First up is a giant amalgamation of animatronics.
Yep.
While this character is often known as the Blob by fans, the game file suggests that their name is actually the Tangle.
The
Not much is
Tangle.
known about this
Okay.
creature. It has parts from Funtime Freddy, Circus Baby, The Puppet, Chica, Bonnie, and Mangle. Judging from the Funtime Freddy head, this could be
Oh my
another form
God.
of Molten Freddy / Ennard.
Yeah.
Another popular theory is that's an amalgamation of the Fazbear Funtime service animatronics, haunted by the victims of the delivery service or the remnant infused into them. However, the PizzaPlex's Rockstar Row display cases have missing props.
Okay.
Implying that the animatronic parts were instead stolen from there and attached to the Tangle.
Oh,
But
right.
these could just be where the wind-up Music Men were displayed. The tales from the PizzaPlex books imply that the Tangle is possessed by the Mimic's victims. As in these books, the Mimic piles up human and endoskeleton limbs, and those piles might have evolved into the Tangle. It's kind of a mess, so hopefully Scott clears it up in the next game. Our next sinkhole inhabitant is Burntrap. He seems to be a new variant of Springtrap, but more burnt and decayed. He appears in the pizza place's basement and serves as a final boss in the sinkhole-centered ending. Help Wanted 2 confirms that this character is being controlled by Glitchtrap.
I never passed that part. I was too dumb.
But there's been a lot of debates over where his body came from. Considering Afton was taken from the pizza place fire, I doubt the corpse on Burntrap is him. Although the costume could be from Scraptrap. But again, his Fright storyline could play out differently in the games. The decayed corpse could also be from one of the PizzaPlex workers who investigated the sinkhole. There's a message in Security Breach mentioning that a team was going to the sinkhole, but we never learned what happened to them, though it's reasonable to assume that they were murdered.
Obviously.
Most importantly, though, it's strongly implied in the Tales from the PizzaPlex epilogues that the Mimic is actually Burntrap. Those epilogues haven't been confirmed as canon, but in them, the Mimic is delivered to the PizzaPlex construction site, appearing burnt and having rabbit ears attached to a shiny new head. And eventually, he ends up trapped in the pizza place. The rabbit ears and burnt appearance are clearly meant to tie the Mimic back to Burntrap.
Oh
Same
my
with him
God.
being trapped in the pizza place, which is also where Burntrap appears. And if you hate using the books for evidence, that's perfectly fine. Secret of the Mimic and Ruin add some solid evidence as well.
I am so invested in this. Honestly, I would forget to talk. I'm sorry. Yes.
Secret of the Mimic's R&D section features the Mimic wearing a rabbit head while hunting us down in an underground Freddy's location.
Right.
Similar to how in Security Breach, Burntrap is a rabbit animatronic in an underground
Oh,
Freddy's
okay.
location. It's also worth noting that in all of the R&D Mimic's concept art, he has a rabbit head, meaning that was a very important design decision.
Right.
Then later in Ruin, we see the Mimic in the pizza place too, directly beneath Burntrap's lair. We'll discuss that more later. But
I've never seen
Burntrap
this.
and the Mimic use the same hand model, and they have multiple visual parallels in their cutscenes and animations.
I have seen that actually. It's the elevator thing. I have seen that.
Exactly the same as how the Mimic curls his arm. This not only happens once, but twice. clearly showing that this was an intentional decision. All of this seems to imply that Burntrap is actually the mimic. All
Crazy, so it's not William Afton.
If this all sounds kinda messy, it is worth noting that, according to Scott Coffin, this isn't how Burntrap's role or security breach as a whole was supposed to go.
Oh.
And I had a specific story for this in mind. Okay, for security breach, I really did. I had a very specific story in mind, and it is very different than the one that got in the game. And I think a part of that is the way that I conveyed that to Steel Wool, because what I was trying to do was I was trying to tell Steel Wool to do specific things throughout the game, put specific items in specific places, have specific characters do certain things, meanwhile not telling them what the story plot was. That didn't work out very well because they got all of these pieces and they thought it was their job to connect them in a way that made sense.
But I'm curious what he wanted to do, though.
And so really what you ended up having were the same pieces, but telling completely different stories.
Damn.
When it comes to Burntrap, originally, Burntrap was never supposed to move. He was supposed to just be something you saw in the corners, or like if you were walking past machinery, you might be able to peek in between two things and see him in the corner or propped up against a wall, almost like a some kind of decaying movie prop, and you never fully understood what his purpose was. And
that would have made the game way easier.
And I'm not going to say what that purpose was, but realistically, he never moved. Well, obviously, that's not what we got in Security Breach. In Security Breach, we got a capsule opening and purple smoke flowing out, and him climbing out and coming to get you.
Yep.
And so it's just not quite the same things.
That helps explain the messy story. Speaking of messy, we still don't
Damn.
know how the mimic ended up in the sinkhole. In the questionably canon Tales books, after getting trapped inside the pizza place, the mimic gets spring-locked inside a Corchester suit and is deactivated.
Deactivated. Mm-hmm.
If something similar happened in the games, then maybe Vanessa had Freddy clear the path into the pizza place to repair the mimic and turn him into Burntrap.
Right.
Who knows for sure. One last thing to note
Scott.
is that Tangle attacks Burntrap and Gregory in one of the endings, strengthening the theory that he's possessed by Glitchtrap's victims. And it's not like the Tangle mindlessly attacks everyone. He ignores Freddy and flees when Cassie approaches him in Ruin. So targeting Gregory and Burntrap does strongly imply that he's possessed by Glitchtrap's victims. Hopefully a Secret of the Mimic or Ruin follow-up can explain how exactly the Mimic ended up in the pizza place.
I would love a second security breach. Yeah.
Anyways, with Vanessa at the head of the PizzaPlex's security, and Gregory's subroutines controlling the animatronics, Glitchtrap and Vanny claim at least 9 victims at the PizzaPlex. Though one of them might just be Gregory, since he is classified as missing later on.
Right.
It's also implied in Ruin that Glitchtrap's victims possess the PizzaPlex's wet floor bots, which is a big downgrade from the past ghosts possessing giant robots. But it's gotta be better than a ball pit. The wet floor bots scream and cry when you're near them in the AR network, which would definitely indicate that they're possessed. If they are haunted, then that brings Glitchtrap's victim count up to at least 27. As in Ruin, there are 27 possessed wet floor bots.
Oh no!
Another central character to the PizzaPlex is Cassie, a girl whose father works at the establishment as a technician.
Right.
Sadly, on her birthday, none of her friends show up to her party, but she meets Gregory, and the two become friends. Roxanne Wolf also attends this party, and we learn in Ruin that she's Cassie's favorite PizzaPlex animatronic.
Cute.
In the interactive novel, Escape the PizzaPlex, Gregory uses his control over the PizzaPlex to let him and Cassie sneak around and interact with the bots after hours.
Love that.
I know this book hasn't been confirmed as canon, but it fits fairly well with the PizzaPlex story, so I think it's worth discussing.
So they just love Cassie. Everyone loves Cassie.
Gregory has Cassie play games with him and the PizzaPlex
Cassie.
animatronics, which get increasingly more disturbing and dangerous. Gregory even goes as far as to tamper with Roxy.
Damn.
At first, he simply has her prank Cassie, but eventually, he programs her to attack his friend.
That is crazy.
Even worse is that the PizzaPlex's cleaning bot, the Reagent, is hunting down Cassie as part of its task to clean all organic material from the PizzaPlex. Luckily, Cassie frees Roxy from Gregory's control, and with her help, she's able to defeat the Reagent.
Yeah!
PizzaPlex, and for some reason, she keeps being friends with Gregory.
Oh!
Even though he tried to kill her, but I guess she just assumes it's all part of the game.
Crazy.
This is a pretty extreme thing for Gregory to put his best friend through. But remember, he's being influenced by Glitchtrap during this time.
So it's not fully Gregory, it's actually Glitchtrap trying to kill her. That's fucking ridiculous.
While we're on the topic of him and his followers, in this book, we learn that Gregory has a device that allows him to control the PizzaPlex animatronics.
Oh.
Which could be the same device that Vanny uses to command the staff bots in some of Security Breach's endings.
Damn,
Speaking
what
of
the
that
fuck?
game, it's our next stop on the timeline. Somehow, Gregory has been freed from Glitchtrap's control, and for some reason, doesn't seem to remember much. Due to a malfunction that night, Glamrock Freddy's rebooted in safe mode.
Oh, so all of that was before Security Breach. I totally misunderstood that, my bad.
Which seems to release him from Glitchtrap's influence. When he wakes up, he discovers Gregory in his chest cavity. The two work together to get him out of the PizzaPlex.
He's
while
so
the Glamrock
happy.
animatronics and Vanessa hunt him down. Vanessa occasionally appears wearing her Vanny costume. Gregory also has to evade the wind-up Music Men and Endoskeletons, who, as we previously discussed, have been corrupted by Glitchtrap. On the other hand, DJ Music Man only turns malicious due to his experimental bouncer mode being activated when the West Arcade shuts down.
Oh,
He eventually
right.
returns to his chill personality once the arcade is rebooted.
Look at
But like in
him!
1 and 2, we see that he still has some violent tendencies. Eventually, Gregory learns that he can upgrade Freddy by stealing the other Glamrock's parts. And so he shatters Chica, Monty, and Roxy to make Freddy stronger.
Which was a bitch move, by the way, because I loved Monty and Roxy. I don't really care about Chica. She's a bit scary to me. I don't really like her.
After all of this destruction, it's finally 6 a.m. and
You
the
can get out.
PizzaPlex's doors open. But instead of fleeing, Gregory and Freddy decide to end this by confronting Vanny at her Fazbear hideout.
Oh my god,
However,
he cannot fight! It's a... The dumbest goofball of the game. And he's standing there like he's gonna whip some ass. He couldn't hurt a fly.
However, the two are ambushed by staff bots, who Vanny commands to disassemble Freddy. Gregory escapes, and
So
after killing
sad.
the Rabbit Lady and the other bots, he reaches her hideout. Here he discovers Princess Quest 3.
Oh, for fuck's sake. I literally found this hideout, but I didn't know I was supposed to go there afterwards.
The Princess Quest series of arcades seem to contain fragments of Glitchtrap's code, which are destroyed upon completing each arcade. To play the third one, you need to complete parts 1 and 2 prior to confronting Vanny, which luckily, Gregory's already done.
Oh,
the third
great.
arcade sends us back to the Freddy
Luckily.
Fazbear virtual experience from Help Wanted, where Gregory collects Glitchtrap's plushie from the pizzeria and Vanny's mask from the corn maze.
Cool.
He can use these to obtain a purple rabbit key, which lets him go backstage, revealing the other side of the door that Vanessa was trapped behind.
Oh!
Gregory opens
Right.
it, which releases Vanessa from Glitchtrap's influence.
Oh my
All of the staff bots
god!
deactivate, and together, Gregory, Vanessa, and Freddy's decapitated yet still functioning head leave the PizzaPlex together.
Fucking
if you're confused
hell.
as to why this is the canon ending, later in Ruin, we can discover comics drawn by Gregory, which depict
Aw.
all of Security Breach's endings except Princess Quest.
Oh.
This seems to indicate that most of the endings are just fiction made by Gregory.
Did I just say it has 7 endings and I've only seen 2?
But since there's no comic for the Princess Quest 3 ending, it must be the canon route.
Crazy.
Sometime later, the Tangle tunnels out of the sinkhole and into the PizzaPlex. It destroys the building, and even though Fazbear Entertainment tries to rebuild the establishment, it's ultimately left to rot. It's implied that around this time, Gregory and Vanessa return to trap the Mimic. This is subtly hinted at throughout Ruin, with Gregory's comics being found throughout the abandoned PizzaPlex, and Burntrap's handprints being added in the sinkhole. All of these details
I don't see
paint
anything.
a pretty clear story. After Security Breach, the Mimic, still wearing the Burntrap appearance, wakes up in his charging pod and exits his lair through the vents.
Okay.
That by his charging pod being empty in Ruin and a handprint appearing on the vent. The print even matches up with Burntrap's sharp claws and dull bone fingers.
Oh, sick!
Around here, Gregory
Love
enters
that.
the sinkhole and goes further into the pizza place to set a trap for the Mimic. And we know Gregory was there, since in Ruin,
His
you can
backpack.
discover a Glamrock Freddy backpack with his name on it.
Gregory,
Gregory
yeah.
and Vanessa use PizzaPlex concrete to seal up a room where they plan to imprison the Mimic. Then using a pair of Roxy and Freddy walkie-talkies, they set a trap for the animatronic.
Everything we thought was happening is not happening. That is kind of ass, because I thought that Gregory was just an ass.
The Freddy walkie-talkie is left inside the prison and used as an audio distraction
Yep.
to lure the Mimic inside. It crawls into the room using an old vent, and upon realizing the trap, it quickly attempts to escape. Its Burntrap hand scratches up the vent as it tries to leave. But just like in Secret of the Mimic's chases, the animatronic's weight causes the vent to collapse.
Too much, yep.
Severing the Burntrap hand and damaging its arm. In Ruin, there's visible damage around the arm.
Yeah.
And since the last time we see the handprint,
This looks like the Dead by Daylight logo.
it makes sense that this is when it broke off.
Hmm.
However, it repairs itself with a new hand sometime
Of course.
before Ruin. Speaking of repairs, it is a good time to discuss just how different the Mimic looks. While his appearance in Secret of the Mimic was bare bones, he's now much
Yes.
more constructed and bulky. It makes sense that he looks different, considering that game was over 4 decades ago.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Security Breach is so recent. Like he said, 4 decades. Isn't that crazy? Obviously, he's advanced now and he knows what to do and he has better ways of killing. And in those 4 decades, he's been mimicking everything.
But there's been some debate over how he developed this new look. Some people think that Fazbear Entertainment did eventually retrieve the Mimic and upgraded him. However, the Mimic could have also used the schematics that it stole to improve its body. We know the animatronic repaired himself after Edwin damaged him, so it's not too far-fetched to suggest that with his schematics in hand, he was able to upgrade himself on a grander scale.
Yep.
The most interesting detail in the Mimic's new design is the lack of his chest box, which contained a data dive report.
Oh.
In one of Secret of the Mimic's alternate endings, Arnold uses it to repair the Mimic. But in his new appearance, there's a gaping hole in his chest.
Oh, he pulled it out.
It's likely that the Mimic tore off this box to prevent
Yep.
anyone from fixing him, solidifying that he's no longer just
Of
a copy
course.
of David and is content with his monstrous identity. Another interesting thing to note is that the room the Mimic is trapped in has multiple MCM costumes, which might imply that the burnt remains of Murray's costume manor are in the sinkhole too.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, now that the Mimic is trapped, Gregory and Vanessa use a PizzaPlex forklift to bring the F10 computer down to the sinkhole. The
Mexes.
machine is now much more worn, and has a Mex's label, instead of the F10 label seen in Secret of the Mimic. Since Arnold activated the Cradle program in that game's ending, Gregory and Vanessa use it to contain the Mimic. And in case you're confused by what the Cradle program does, F10 said that it would provide boundaries, keeping M2 and others safe. And Gregory explains it too.
The Nexus security program was designed to keep it hidden.
If you're also wondering why
Right.
the Cradle doesn't just deactivate the Mimic, it's because F10 wants to protect M2, since she still views him as her child.
Of fucking course, she does. Wants to protect him because deep down, it is still David. But it's killing everyone and everything around them.
Gregory and Vanessa use the Cradle to close the security door over the concrete, keeping the Mimic trapped.
Right.
And to lock down the PizzaPlex by establishing security nodes in the AR network, which is a digital realm
Such
within
a cool
PizzaPlex
game.
that can be accessed by wearing the security mask. And despite its surreal nature, it still affects reality. The nodes in the network lock down areas that were previously accessible in security.
Yeah, this is
Most
so
notably
cool.
the sinkhole where the Mimic is trapped. The Cradle security also unleashes the Mex's entity into the AR network. This rabbit creature's goal is to protect the security nodes and prevent the Mimic's escape. They're
Right.
connected to the PizzaPlex animatronics, giving them the ability to summon the bots to deal with intruders. There's a lot of questions surrounding Mexes. Like, is the entity F10 Why is the machine's name different? And how did it get out of Murray's costume manor?
So the whole Mexis thing did not mean to purposely kill me. It was just protecting. It was making sure that the Mimic would stay where he is hidden.
Help Wanted 2's Mimic update seems to answer a few of these questions. The ending shows us the Mex's machine in what appears to be a Fazbear van. We then have to type in
I've seen
code
this.
4625, which is the same frequency that F10 talked on in one of Edwin's tapes. I think this detail is used to show that F10 is still in the Mex's machine. The entity also emerges after this, and it's worth noting that their sharp facial features are very similar to F10 sun face, further hinting that the entity is just a manifestation of F10
Right.
After the computer is deactivated, the van drives off with it. I think this is meant to imply that after being left in standby mode in Secret of the Mimic, F10 was retrieved by Fazbear from the wreckage of MCM. Fazbear is
Right,
likely also
what the fuck?
responsible for removing F10 name and replacing it with Mechanical X-Form experimental storage.
It's too much. I don't get it anymore. I don't get it anymore. I don't get it anymore. I don't get it anymore.
Then
Basically.
after security breach, Vanessa and Gregory stole the machine from Fazbear, planning on using its Cradle program to keep the Mimic trapped.
Yeah.
Anyways, with the Mimic contained, Gregory and Vanessa once again leave the PizzaPlex.
Good.
This leads into Help Wanted 2.
Yay!
In this installment, our protagonist is trapped in the AR network, with an AR inhibitor keeping the security mask stuck to their face.
We're never gonna get rid of any trouble, respectfully. It is just gonna keep happening.
They play through the PizzaPlex's employee training levels in the AR network, navigating
Me.
categories such as backstage,
Sorry.
Fazcade, staff only, food prep, ticket booth, and sister location levels. Some of these levels also take place at Fall Fest, and even depict a fire destroying the event, which is likely the same fire that killed Fiona Murray.
Yep.
After completing a couple of these, the protagonist
Edward!
After completing a couple of these, the protagonist unlocks a Faz Wrench, The animatronic guide in the lobby, Mystic Hippo, refers to it as a key and says it should look familiar to the protagonist.
What the
It's
fuck
worth
is
mentioning that
happening?
The protagonist is likely the Bonnie bully from Five Nights at Freddy's 4, and the father of
Burn
Cassie.
him!
The Faz Wrench given to the protagonist is a tool
Never
used
mind.
by Fazbear technicians, and it's revealed in Ruin that Cassie's father was a technician.
A Faz Wrench? It's just like my dad's.
So both Cassie's dad and the Help Wanted 2 protagonists are Fazbear technicians.
Okay.
Along with this, both characters are associated with Bonnie. In Ruin, a collectible lunchbox description reveals that Bonnie was Cassie's dad's favorite character.
Because he was wearing the Bonnie mask.
And we learn that her father collected the Freddy and Friends on Tour lunchboxes, meaning that he was likely a kid in the 80s when Freddy's was popular.
Right.
In one of Help Wanted 2's endings, you can discover a secret Bonnie mask, and the protagonist says it looks familiar. A lot of people think this means that Cassie's father was the Bonnie bully in Five Nights at Freddy's 4, before becoming a Fazbear technician at—
That's what I just said, yo.
Later, a note in Ruin implies that he went somewhere, likely to investigate the PizzaPlex's sinkhole.
He went to get milk.
He was probably caught by Vanny or Burntrap and trapped in the AR network,
buddy.
which leads to the events of Help Wanted 2. With the Faz Wrench now in hand, the protagonist can use it to open up the PizzaPlex's storage room, where they deactivate the AR inhibitor, trapping them in the network. This allows them to remove the security mask and return to the real world, where they explore the now abandoned PizzaPlex. Most notably, they attempt to repair Roxy in her salon, but she gets frustrated and instead demands that they give her a mask, which will come back later in Ruin. The trap also appears in some of these levels, revealing that he survived the Princess Quest 3 ending from Security Breach. Mystic Hippo sometimes says, some parts remain, meaning that while most of Glitchtrap's code was destroyed in the Princess Quest ending, parts of him still exist in the AR network. He sabotages the protagonist's work in the makeup levels, Bonkabon, and gives the player dolls of Afton's victims if they complete certain puzzles. These dolls are referred to as memories, so it seems like Glitchtrap does possess the memories of Afton's victims.
Yikes.
Those playing to the Princess Quest 4 ending, which we'll discuss later. Anyways, after completing all of the levels, the protagonist can collect the Fast Force action figures from the Helpy Assistant in the AR network.
I want an action figure like that. Hello?
Once they have all of these, they can combine them into the Faz Bototron. However, this also resembles Glitchtrap. It seems that similar to the tapes from Help Wanted, these figures contain parts of Glitchtrap's code, and were used as a Trojan horse to trick the protagonist into reassembling Glitchtrap.
He's
This
playing
emerges from a charging pod in a reference to Burntrap. Then staff bots appear and tear the protagonist apart. They're then turned into Maskbot, a crucial character in the Mimic's plan to escape the sinkhole. This seems to be why Glitchtrap kept the protagonist alive all this time. Mystic Hippo says, so it seems like Glitchtrap kept the protagonist around to help rebuild his code in case he was defeated in Princess Quest. Speaking of which, the 4th Princess Quest arcade plays into the other ending. In this route, the protagonist collects all of Glitchtrap's memories. Something interesting about these dolls is that they seem to be based on the missing children's sprites from Five Nights at Freddy's 3's Happiest Day minigame.
Right.
Both groups not only consist of Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, Golden Freddy, and the puppet, but they're also wearing masks of the animatronics. Interestingly enough, the Fast Force action figures also have the same cast of animatronics. Likely is a direct parallel to the memories. Speaking
fair.
Of which, with all the memories collected, the protagonist can play Princess Quest 4. They're eventually pulled into the arcade and traverse through the castle until they reach the missing children's graves. After lighting all of them, they find the old man from Princess Quest 2. He trades the protagonist AR mask for the Glitchtrap plush. Speaking of him, the old man is commonly believed to be Old Man Consequences from Ultimate Custom Night, or at least a parallel to him, judging from his similar red appearance and his old age.
Fair enough.
Anyways, the protagonist then enters the elevator from Sister Location and emerges into a giant claw machine with Vanny looking in. The protagonist hands the Glitchtrap plush to the Moon, who delivers it to Vanny. You might expect her to help Glitchtrap out, but instead, she crushes him. She then waves at the protagonist and retreats into the darkness, mimicking Glitchtrap from the original Help Wanted. When you return to the lobby, Helpy is also gone, implying he was Glitchtrap in disguise, which makes a lot of sense. He was pressuring the protagonist to open the presents to assemble Glitchtrap.
That is
However,
very true.
It doesn't seem like this ending is canon, as later in Ruin, Helpy returns, which wouldn't fit with him disappearing here. Considering the normal ending leads directly into Ruin and involves the protagonist dying before they play Princess Quest 4, I think it's safe to say that it's the canon route. The Princess Quest ending's inclusion of Vanny is still worth discussing though. Most people either believe that this is Vanessa disguising herself as Vanny to get close to Glitchtrap, or that Vanny has become her own evil entity after Vanessa was freed from Glitchtrap's influence.
I like the idea of it being Vanessa. I like Vanessa.
And she now has her own villainous agenda. I'm leaning more towards the latter, considering the Moon, who's the dark side of the daycare attendant, is assisting Vanny.
That is true.
Imply that this is the dark side of Vanessa. Scott Cawthon also said that he hoped to see Vanny return.
I've always really liked
I hope
Vanny
so.
as a character. I don't think that Vanny was utilized to her fullest potential, and so hopefully we'll see another opportunity for Vanny to return as well. We'll see.
I hope so
She'll be a
too.
solo villain in the future. With Glitchtrap being another main focus in this game, I think it's a good time to dive more into what exactly he is. Since the Fright's books seem to be semi-canon, I think it's pretty safe to say that Afton is dead. And as we've discussed a bit, Glitchtrap has a lot of ties to the Mimic. Help Wanted and Secret of the Mimic's endings have some pretty obvious parallels. And Help Wanted 2 even ends with Glitchtrap kicking off the Mimic's plan to escape. So it's pretty clear that they're the same character, or at least connected.
So if I'm correct now, William Afton is dead, so he's not really canon anymore. He's dead, he's gone. The Mimic is stuck in that room.
I think Secret of the Mimic sheds some light on Glitchtrap by showing us how the Mimic programs replicate personalities. In that game, we learned that F10 and 4 copies Fiona using the birthday tapes. And M2 seems to use data based on David's possessions to replicate him. Then in Help Wanted 2, we see that Glitchtrap has the memories of Afton's 6 main victims. And in the Secret of the Mimic update, it's also revealed that he has the Tiger Memory Doll, clearly tying him back to the Mimic and David. So
That's
it seems
cool.
like Glitchtrap is the M2 program, now in possession of Afton's memories.
Well, that's not great, is it? One maniac psychopath murder mimic robot is copying bully psychopath selfish murderer William Afton.
Which results in him mimicking Afton. Similar to how it initially copied David, and how F10 and 4 copied Fiona. I'm still not sure why exactly he decided to copy Afton this long, but as seen in Secret of the Mimic's storytime ending, the Mimic can fully commit to copying one person, in this case, Afton. However, it's not clear how he obtained Afton's memories. It's possible that he witnessed some of Afton's murders, judging from how we see Glitchtrap recreating them in Pizza Party. Or maybe he learned about Afton from the Freddy Fazbear virtual experience and the indie games. As previously discussed, the Mimic programs can learn about people from recordings or objects relating to them. So it's definitely possible that the Fazbear Entertainment games gave the Mimic all the information it needed to replicate Afton. It's FNAF, so
fair.
who knows for sure.
That is
Overall,
true.
though, I think Glitchtrap is clearly meant to be the Mimic.
Yeah.
Ruin and Secret of the Mimic even bathe him in purple lighting. Along with that, as we previously discussed, his R&D costume has him wearing a rabbit head, which isn't just a random design choice. It was very notably a consistent feature in his concept art. Speaking of Secret of the Mimic, Glitchtrap's hand puppet in Bonkabon is very similar to the MCM hand puppets. Both of these details further solidify that Glitchtrap is the Mimic. Back to the present, Help Wanted 2's update implies that after turning the protagonist into Maskbot, the Mimic decides to stop copying Afton. As Mr. Hippo says,
uh-oh.
And the performer in question is revealed to be the Mimic. So I guess he just got bored of being Glitchtrap, which lines up with him missing his Burntrap costume later on.
Ooh.
And we finally get to our last stop on the FNAF timeline. Security Breaches DLC, Ruin.
Yes!
Sometime after the events of Help Wanted 2, the Mimic sends a message to Cassie. The animatronic impersonates Gregory to trick her into helping release him.
Yeah.
She returns to the abandoned PizzaPlex, where
This
she
is
encounters
cool.
Maskbot. As previously established, this animatronic is possessed by the protagonist from Help Wanted 2, aka Cassie's dad. As part of the Mimic's plan, Maskbot delivers the security mask to Cassie, allowing her to access the AR network, where she is Helpy. Just like in Help Wanted 2, this guy is clearly the Mimic in disguise.
Amazing.
Throughout the DLC, his eyes will sometimes turn orange,
That is crazy. I've never seen that.
signifying that the endoskeleton is controlling him.
Oh my
This
god.
implies that Glitchtrap is the Mimic, since they
Oh my
both use Helpy as a
god.
disguise. If you're confused as to why the endoskeleton is using Helpy of all characters, there is a reason. In Secret of the Mimic, Edwin and Fiona are represented by their puppets, Mr. and Mrs. Helpful.
True.
These bears are likely the parents of Helpy. Note Mr. Helpful's hat, bow tie, white fur, and Mrs. Helpful's purple accents. Mix them together, and you get Helpy. Considering the Mimic was originally supposed to copy David, it makes sense that he'd appear as the son of the Murray's mascots.
Okay.
Speaking of the Murrays, FNAF manifests as an entity in the AR network and will summon the ruined animatronics to stop Cassie from unknowingly freeing the mimic. Eventually, she reaches the daycare, where she discovers the daycare attendant. The moon is in control of their body in the real world, while the sun has been repressed into the AR network. Using her Faz wrench, she manages to reboot the animatronic, turning him into Eclipse, who, judging from the name, is a fusion of the sun and moon's personalities. Eclipse flies her out of the daycare, and she continues on her journey. Later
Eclipse
on,
is cool.
she reaches the Roxy salon, where
Roxy's
Roxanne
cool.
Wolf is still crying in the exact same position from Help Wanted 2. Roxy almost catches Cassie, but is distracted by the voice of the real Gregory trying to contact her.
Oh!
And we know this is the real Gregory, since later, he says he's been trying to reach her all night, and in Chapter 5, you can get a rare Easter egg of him trying to contact Cassie through a staff bot.
Oh? Oh, damn.
Gregory?
The real Gregory was trying to help, but she didn't know because the mimic was mimicking Gregory. Oh.
Roxy runs after Gregory's voice, and Cassie follows her into the abandoned Foxy log ride. While it was never open due to safety concerns, in Help Wanted 2, there is a full version of the attraction in the AR.
Oh, that's cool.
There was a Foxy ride in Curse of Dreadbear 2. And both of these seem to be based on Foxy's original puppet show from Murray's Costume Man.
Yeah, that is so cool. I love that.
You did it! You did it! You found the perfect present for the captain!
I did?
The perfect present was friendship all along!
The real treasure was friendship all along. Happy birthday!
Oh, that's cute.
Back to Ruin, Cassie climbs to the
Sorry.
flooded floor where Monty appears and swims around in the water.
Monty in this game is just one angry chihuahua. Monty doesn't have a body. He only has his arms. He walks with his arms. And he's just a little ankle biter.
After jumping across the breeze to avoid him, Cassie powers up a conduit to open a door. But it also activates a Glamrock Bonnie neon sign. In an ironic moment, this sign electrocutes the water and fries Monty, which seems to kill him. Once again, karma sucks. Cassie continues to the raceway, and eventually, Roxy grabs her.
Give me back my eyes!
Ah! Let go! Let go!
Cassie. That is me sometimes. I error.
It seems like this somehow caused Roxy to malfunction and break free from the Mech's security. Which will be important later. Anyways, Cassie finally gets the mimic signal again, and he tells her to deactivate the remaining security nodes to save him. She shuts down the Bonnie Bull node and goes to Fazbear Blast to deactivate the last one. But as she's leaving, she encounters Freddy's decapitated body. After losing his head, his body is turned into a mindless monster. Some people think this isn't the same Glamrock Freddy from Security Breach.
Don't think so.
On his foot, you can see the word prototype. However, judging from him being in the exact same location and decapitated state as Glamrock Freddy, I think it's safe to assume it's his body. I believe the prototype label on the foot is instead there to explain why he broke down in Security Breach.
Yeah.
It's because Glamrock Freddy was a prototype. Luckily, Cassie escapes the malfunctioning Freddy and returns to the raceway. But the Mimic tells her that Roxy's the final security node and needs to be deactivated. In a heartbreaking moment, Cassie reluctantly does just that.
I almost cried here, and you guys are gonna see why. I almost fucking bawled my eyes out.
Special day. I remember your special day. Do you still like carrot cake? It has been some time since I saw you last. If I remember correctly, it is on the 11th. I remember because you are number 1 twice. Cassie, what are you doing?
Sorry.
I love carrot cake. Happy birthday, Cassie.
Fox, I'm sorry.
With Roxy deactivated, the scene
So sad.
and Cassie journeys into the abyss.
It's especially sad because she didn't need to do that. The Mimic told her to do that. To free him, but they didn't need to.
With Roxy deactivated, the sinkhole entrance opens and Cassie journeys into the abyss. Eventually, she ends up in the pizza place basement and finds the Mimic's prison. She also discovers the F-10-4/Nexus supercomputer and deactivates it, which shuts down its security program and opens the Mimic's prison.
Bless her.
After driving a forklift through the concrete blocking the doorway, Cassie jumps into the room and comes face to face with the Mimic.
You're not Gregory. What are you?
I'm Gregory. Get out of here! Run!
Cassie flees into the caves and is contacted by the real Gregory, who helps her flee the endoskeleton. Speaking of the Mimic, him and Roxy fighting is very interesting. As if you remember, Roxy was created by Fiona and Edwin made the Mimic, lending extra significance to their fight. Also, if you're confused as to how Roxy is still running around after Cassie deactivated her, well, so am I. It's possible that the Faz wrench just deactivated the security node attached to her and Roxy was rebooted. Anyways, the endoskeleton chases Cassie back into the PizzaPlex basement, where she finds an old elevator that she manages to power up.
But that doesn't work either.
After escaping, Gregory explains to Cassie that the Mimic tricked her into deactivating the Mex's security, and now it's free. He tells her they can't risk being followed and drops the elevator, plunging Cassie into the depths, where the DLC ends on a cliffhanger. There's a lot of speculation as to who really dropped the elevator. Was it Gregory? Or maybe it was the Mimic or F-10
Vanessa.
dropping him. As for now, nothing is certain. After the credits roll, you can hear Roxanne Wolf calling out for Cassie. And once again, it's not clear if this is actually her or someone mimicking her. Considering how powerful and brutal the Mimic can be, I think it's reasonable to assume that the endoskeleton destroyed her. So it could be mimicking Roxy to trick Cassie once again. There are also two other endings.
Hold on, I think that there is a reason why they released Secret of the Mimic first and that there's gonna be a second part of Security Breach. But they needed to get the history of the Mimic out there because otherwise it wouldn't make sense.
In the Scooper ending, the Mimic dresses up in an amalgamation of MCM costumes, which seems to have been built to resemble Gregory. Note the similar blue shirt with white accents, brown hair, and an orange accessory on their left
Crazy.
arms. Most of the ending plays out the same. But during the Mimic chase, Cassie flees down a hallway that she opened earlier using the PizzaPlex cameras. She escapes into an observation room and activates a scooper, possibly the same one from Sister Location, which drags the Mimic away and removes him from the costume, saving her life, but still letting the endoskeleton get away. During the Brazil ending, she puts on the mask during the chase, and enters a scene of Gregory, Vanessa, and Helpy sitting together on a hill, as 5 balloons float into the distance, likely representing Afton's victims at rest.
The victims.
It seems like this AR landscape was made by the security mask to give Cassie a peaceful ending before the Mimic kills her. The Mimic is now free, which I'm sure will be the main focus of future games.
Obviously.
For now, this is the end of the Five Nights at Freddy's timeline. It has been a wild ride, and I can't wait to see what's next.
Absolutely, guys. That was amazing. I loved every part of that. That was fantastic.